They said he couldn't be early. They said he could not stream 4 consecutive days in a row. They were wrong. What's up, people? Why is the camera so far over? Chill. Get. Yeah, that's fine. You know what? No. How about that? How about that, huh? How about that? How y'all doing? Nice shirt. Thank you. I appreciate that. Show brother get. Oh yeah. Look, this is really cute. Where is it? little jokey. My brother got me. It was St. Mark's. See? Very cute. Little goober gift. There. Glad my little bro is supportive of my preferred ideological leanings. What is the text in my pants? It says, "Stop looking at my dick." So because every time I stand up and sit down, somebody says something about my ass or whatever. So not a Mark's fleshlight? No, my brother did not buy me a Mark's fleshlight. Much, I know, to your chagrin. How y'all doing? It's uncomradely, yeah. What harm I am doing to you? What are some examples of fake libertarians? Everyone who calls themselves a libertarian. There you go. That's the example, all right? They took that term from us. It was cultural appropriation. Oh yeah, speaking of cultural appropriation, you motherfuckers and your goddamn attempted music cancellations have got to stop, okay? So it started with Vosh is cringe for liking electro swing. Then we got the classic electro swing, only pedophiles like that, fitting for Vosh. And now we have Vosh is literally subhuman for enjoying electro swing. When somebody asks why, they're like, you know how some things can be so gentrified they feel almost inherently racist? Like Maddie B. Raps or that white, I don't know what any of this is. Or Jack Dorsey meditating in Myanmar. For anyone into jazz or real dance music, electro swing is like that. So now we're, you know what they say, electro swing, the clan hood of the audio world. Jesus Christ. Oh, God. I thought that was a joke. No. When people criticize me online, they're not joking. It's all serious all the time. I always knew you were racist, Fosh. Yeah, mask off, I guess. Jesus Christ. Twitter is a tumor. Yeah. Well. They don't like me on Facebook or Reddit either. What are these electro swing takes? It's not a take. I just like how it sounds. What the Okay, listen. You guys know that a take is a prescriptive statement, right? Like, it's not a take to say, I like X. That's not a take. That's just a preference. That's not a take. A take is when you have, like, an opinion on something. Like, you express an opinion on something. I have not made any prescriptive statements about music. That being said, I have decided that I'm going to go in a musical odyssey, okay? So you fuckers have more to cancel me for, okay? I'm going to go in a musical odyssey. I'm going to try to listen to every major genre. I know there are 11 trillion genres. I know how far these subdivide. But I'm going to try and get like a broad palette. I'm going to get my opinions on all of it so you fuckers can cancel me for the shit I actually think, okay? I'm just like I've read all theory. I'm going to listen to all music, okay? Yeah, we need to get Fantano on. We need to get Fantano on for this project, okay? We're going to listen to it all right? We're going to get the Himalayan throat singing. We're going to get the K-pop. We're going to get all of it, okay? And I need to get representative samples of all these genres. Like, what's the best band, you know? And maybe it ends up I just like the band but don't like the genre, but there's only so much I can do here. I mean, I can't... There's way too many genres. It's too much. Apparently you're a transphobe too. Oh, I've been a transphobe forever, dude. That's like that's an old one. Wait a second. This is from yesterday. Wait, what? Vosh abuses trans voices into staying quiet about transphobe. Oh no, hold on. We're doing a chill stream today, by the way. If you guys are expecting some super dedicated planned political commentary, then you're not here for it. Oh no. All right. Preemptive statement. Don't harass anyone. Everyone has different opinions. I'm just looking. Let's all chill. Okay, what is this?
But as things moved along, of course, you get the reaction to the reaction. And this is when Vosh and other people start coming in.
Oh, shit.
There was a popular soft trans YouTuber who spoke out, explaining the issue with the fact that...
What is a soft trans YouTuber? Wait, did I hear that right? Is there like... What is a hard trans YouTuber?
Whilst the joke clearly caused harm, what's even worse than this is the way how everyone is responding, is trivializing, is ignoring the feelings and thoughts of trans people who have expressed their pain. What doubles this is the fact that all of this was taking place during Trans Remembrance Week, you know.
What happened during Trans Remembrance
Week? Trans Awareness Week.
Trans
Day of Remembrance is just the Friday. So, like, on this week that we're supposed to come together and celebrate, you know, listening to trans experiences and everything like that, they were effectively being shut down. Everyone who was speaking out, no matter how generous...
Okay, this is super general. Okay, wait, hold on.
They were being missed as woke scold, you know, Twitter mob. And that's a problem. And that's when, of course, popular dirtbag YouTuber Vosh decided to step in and created a video.
Boy.
Oh, there are two people on this call.
And this really spikes the abuse that members of the trans community were experiencing in expressing their thoughts. Vosh showed off various tweets by numerous trans folk, including the aforementioned soft trans. I just realized I haven't explained what soft trans is.
Yeah, wait, please.
Soft trans is a label that I've only seen applied by cis people on the outside to refer to trans people who handle cis people with kitty gloves. The same people would probably refer to me as a hard trans because my main objective here, as we say every day, when we every fortnight when we start the show, is to create a space that's inclusive for trans people to show.
Wait, is this like new term? Wait, does this exist elsewhere? Is a soft black a black person who like explains race issues to white people, and a hard black somebody who doesn't? Like, what's yeah, new discourse just dropped. All right, whatever terms people want to use. I don't know.
Show their full range of like human expression. You know, I'm a lot less about building bridges. I'm more about equipping trans people with the tools they need to stand up for themselves and giving them a space that they can come to and vent in. You know, without constantly being harassed and sea-lined by cis people.
Hey, by the way, I just want to say, I think that my community is probably the largest on the internet dedicated to giving arguments to trans people without them experiencing abuse or harassment from, like, other people in the community. I think there are other trans-positive YouTubers, but my channel's literally about giving arguments to people. That's the whole point. I get so many emails from people being like, hey, you broke my egg, or like, hey, you helped me come out to my fucking parents because I didn't know how to explain my identity. I get so many emails like that. I feel like, I don't know, I feel like I do a decent job with that, but yeah.
Soft trans, on the other hand, is kind of a diplomat. The soft trans is someone who goes out there and is very good at like handling cis people with kitty gloves because much like the frail male ego, there's a lot of cis people who, like, the slightest of criticism completely sets them off in an unreasonable way, and they will condemn that as, you know, abuse, etc. And that's what Vosh did to this notably soft trans YouTuber. This person who Vosh's progeny has mocked as a soft trans person.
Wait, who?
You know, they were...
Wait, wait, who? In that video that I did about the drama that Philosophy Tube received, I don't think I named and shamed a single person. I don't know who's being referred to right now. Is it that Corvidae person? That's the only person I can think of who might be the one who's being referred to. But I didn't name anybody. I think they were just one of the person who tweeted. Isn't Ollie non-binary? Wait, is Ollie non-binary? Is that true? If that's the case, I didn't know. No? Okay, no, yeah, right. I didn't think so. I just wanted to make sure. Yeah. Ollie is bi. Yeah, bi, but not non-binary. Yeah.
One of the people targeted. You know, Vosh came in and read out 7 tweets, and this is really interesting. These are the 7 tweets that Vosh read out.
Oh, shit.
Number 1, kind of cringe, bro. Number 2, this isn't funny. Sincerely, a trans person. Number 3, this is a joke only found funny by transphobic people. What does that say about the joke? Number 4, and this is the soft trans person I mentioned earlier, because of how things have unfolded over the past year, trans people expressing this tweet isn't cool are already being dismissed as the woke skull / cancel culture Twitter mob. So predictable. Tweet 5, transphobe is trans is not a joke cis people should make. You're a good ally, this ain't it. Tweet 6, let's not joke about this. Tweet 7, which is actually 2 tweets, I just put them into one. This is not a good joke, please actually delete. Then they went away, then they came back. It's been 12 hours, why isn't this deleted? And it's important to note that...
People who do that, by the way. Excuse me, sweetie. This tweet was sent 37 minutes ago. Let's... What is this about? I don't know. I just like watching videos where people call me a transphobe. Can I just have fun? Holy shit, please. We don't do dedicated political shows here, okay? I'm a live streamer, all right? If I want to come here and fucking talk about anime for 4 hours instead of politics, that's my right, okay? That is my guarantee to my audience, okay? That at any given point in time, all right, I can completely abandon all of my obligations as a political commentator, and I can just give you anime takes, all right? That is my goddamn right, all right? This isn't the fucking Majority Report. This isn't the goddamn David Pac-Man show. This isn't fucking secular talk. I can come up here and scratch my balls for 4 hours if I want. That's my God-given right, okay? I guess this is the political equivalent of scratching my balls. Just
like all the people just telling, Oi to delete this tweet. It's important for them to delete this tweet. However, those 7 tweets that I just read out to you, according to Vorsh, are apparently the tweets of the cancel culture, woke scold, over-offended sensitivity baby mob.
Okay, so one of the things that I this is constructive criticism, okay? No harassment, no hard feelings. Okay, so one of the things that I don't like about this is that there's very little room for nuance when it comes to the discussion of cancel culture and oversensitivity. On one hand, like on the right, the people on the right will delegitimize every legitimate issue that trans people or other minority groups face by calling all of it oversensitive harassment mobs all the time. They call like BLM oversensitive harassment mobs, okay? Like the problem is conservatives lie about the threshold of severity that's being like legitimately addressed there. And the issue, the other issue, on the other hand, is that there are people on the left who are aggressively counterproductive, who are only interested in shit-talking allies because doing so performatively bolsters their social credit. That's a real thing, okay? I know that because I used to do that. That's a real thing. It's an actual thing that happens, okay? And the issue that I had was that in the tweet that Ollie made, which was, I think it was something like Trump finally approves transition or something like that, like the presidential transition. And Ollie quote tweeted it and said, "Oh, great, good for her," or something like that. Like, or wouldn't have expected it, but good for her, something like that. The joke being that transition can mean presidential transition or gender transition. It's funny. It's just a stupid pun. It's not transphobic. There's nothing about that that's transphobic. Nothing about the joke like degrades trans people. It's just a pun. It's like a dad joke. Yeah. So a lot of people were really offended. And I think the reason why a lot of people were really offended is because they reflexively see transphobia in language about trans people that isn't explicitly positive, which is kind of justified. On the internet, generally speaking, when trans people are brought up, it's in the context of degrading them. So to compensate for that, pro-trans people will very performatively make every statement they make about trans people really, really, really pro-trans, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. Got to set the line, distinguish it, My main issue is that Ollie is pretty obviously pro-trans. I would get it if it was like a random person, but this person's job is being progressive, and they've made multiple videos on trans issues. So to be uncharitable in your consumption of that joke from that person feels really weird to me. If it was some like random CNN commentator with a mixed history on gender issues or whatever, I wouldn't have an issue with how people responded. But with Ollie, yeah, I don't know.
So it's like so much of that criticism, including the "you're a good ally, but this ain't it," it was incredibly soft. Like, I have seen some pretty harsh comments, mostly from people that I know were hurt extremely badly in the whole Natalie thing, which, again, Ollie decided to go ahead and... Yeah,
okay, the trans people being hurt by Natalie thing is bullshit. I don't accept that narrative at all. Nobody was hurt. No trans people were hurt by Contra. Come on, like, let's be real. Natalie didn't do anything wrong. Chill, okay? Please.
hurt people and then wonder why they were angry at him. You know, a lot of these comments that I've read out are so soft, yet apparently even this is too much. Apparently you can't even say these things about cis people, or you're the evil bad guy.
I didn't say anyone was the evil bad guy. I feel like this is drama baiting. I feel like Essence of Thought is like overstating the content that I produced in an effort to try and make it seem as though I'm indistinguishable from the conservatives who address this stuff in bad faith. You know what? Want to know the funny thing? Okay, as a general rule, when you're talking with woke scoldy types, okay, whenever they just vaguely allude at people being hurt by your comments, they're almost certainly making shit up, okay? I got a lot of people saying that my video on the Ollie Thorne thing was like irresponsible and that it hurt a lot of people because it got like 200,000 views, and that's a lot in BreadTube. And people asked me to go back and blur out their Twitter names, like, which takes some time, by the way. You have to go in the YouTube editor and you have to like do the tracking thing, and I'm not great at that kind of thing. But they ask, and if they ask, I'll always do it, unless they're a conservative, in which case, fuck off. But like, the funny thing is, of all the people who contacted me, of all the people who talked to me, of all the people who made arguments, of all the people who complained, not a single one was able to provide evidence of any of my fans harassing them. They kept saying it was happening. They kept saying Vosh fans are going to dogpile these people. Vosh crazy transphobe fans are going to hate mob them. These people are getting harassed. These people are getting degraded. Every person I talked to, no matter how hard I asked, couldn't provide me a single example of it. Which means two things. One, I have a great community. Love you guys. And two, very often, people are willing to lie and conflate them thinking they're being harassed with them actually being harassed and use that for victim points, which is pretty fucked up, I think. If you haven't received harassment, just assuming harassment is taking place and then ascribing that, like, just sort of as an assumption, I think that's pretty bad. I think that's a bad thing to do. It's not good. How do we go about scolding the scold? You know what I think we need to do about the woke scold thing? I just think we need to give people less power when it comes to like cancellation, okay? When somebody comes out with like a vicious hot take about how bad a person is or how horrible and problematic they are, I think that what we need to do is we need to chill out and go like, okay, all right, let's look at it and think about it. One of the big problems is a lot of people are really reflexive about it, which means people end up making accusations, and then those accusations play the telephone game, and people are accusing people of horrible, horrible things that are completely unsubstantiated. If we just chill, I think it would be a lot better, you know? Somebody comes out with a crazy fucking take, we can lean back a little bit, you know? Look at this Nazi fuck. Scott Greer. Oh yeah, this guy's a Nazi. Scott Greer is a Nazi. Yeah, he was friends with Richard Spencer. The guy who's putting his IQ in his Twitter bio, I can't tell if this is ironic or not. This guy's amazing. Scott Greer, 6'2", IQ 187, which I don't know what fucking freemium website he got this from, but this guy used to work with Richard Spencer. Look, just a white guy on Twitter, author of No Campus for White Men. He's got some LARPy fucking old shit on his profile. Yeah, he's a Nazi. He's Richard Spencer guy. Anyway, what were we talking about? Where's the link to rebuy an Orange Name? Ah, you mean to subscribe to the website? That's in the top left of the website, I think. I have never subscribed to myself because I can't. I cannot pay into my PayPal account with my own PayPal account. That's actually not allowed. Yeah, my IQ is 1984. True. Very true. Okay, what was I saying? Oh yeah, anyway, I think what we need to do, if we want to get rid of cancel culture without invalidating the concerns of people who have been marginalized, all we have to do, I think, is just chill out a little bit and be a little bit more, not skeptical, but a little bit more thoughtful with allegations, accusations, and the like. I think that would go a long way towards making things better, you know? A lot of people actually believe the, like, believe all women thing, you know? But believe all women never literally meant believe all women. Like, women are people, women can lie. It meant take women's claims seriously. Like, that's what it always meant from day one. The believe all women thing is short and punchy, so it's easier to chant, but obviously that's not a good policy. Like, women can lie. Obviously, women can lie. Like, you don't believe all women just by default, their fucking gender identity. But you want to take their concerns seriously. Yeah. The problem is, like, good slogans do not good policies make, but a lot of people take the slogans and take them at face value. You know? It's pretty weird. Bosh, what do you make of this? What's up? New York Attorney General Letitia James is suing the city of New York and the NYPD, calling for a federal monitor to oversee the department following an investigation that found widespread civil rights abuses from the NYPD during racial justice protests. I am always going to be in favor of lawsuits against police departments following investigations which find misconduct. Always, always, always. Also, coming from the New York City Attorney General, that's pretty cool. Or sorry, New York Attorney General. That's pretty awesome. I hope that goes through. Yeah. TBH, I think a lot of slogans for social causes do more harm than good. Yeah, I wonder about that, dude. The problem is, I think slogans, it's not that slogans used to be better designed. I think people were just smarter about them. I don't know. If you go back and like look at polling and look at advocacy during the civil rights movement back in the 1960s, there were a lot of slogans associated with that time. I don't think there were like as many people dying on stupid hills back then, though. I feel like they were a little bit more pragmatic. Black Lives Matter, what's wrong with that? No, there's nothing wrong with the term Black Lives Matter. That's a good slogan. That's a good slogan. Because it's vague. It's vague. It's not like a specific policy prescription, but it gets across the sentiment of the movement. I think that's a really good like slogan, you know? Defund the police isn't quite as good because defund the police how much? Like, do you mean cut by 10%, which would still be a significant cut? Do you mean no police at all, which is not practical in our modern system? Do you mean take a lot of funding away from the police and redistribute it into social welfare programs to try to address sociological issues so you don't need as many police in the future? Well, okay, but now like we're moving away. Yeah, it's harder and harder to convey these in the form of slogans. How about demilitarize the police? Yeah, that's good. That is a good slogan, but it's limited. Even demilitarized police can still pose a huge problem, you know? I don't think New York City police were that militarized back in the early 90s, but they still did a lot of weird fucking shit with black people. Yeah. Hey, thank you, Shalashaska360. I appreciate that. I think ACAB is pretty good. ACAB is good as a slogan, but ACAB as an actual prescriptive statement makes for some really stupid fucking conversations. Holy shit. People who actually believe that every cop is like individually morally bad, these people are like the bane of policy discussion, okay? Holy shit, okay? The problem is that leftism and Marxism is based in structural critique, which means that the term ACAB, if used by a leftist, should mean all cops are part of a system which mandates behavior of them, which is bastard-like. There are cops who are good people. There are even police officers who contribute net positive to their community. That's totally a thing that happens. Like, you're delusional if you don't think that. The issue is that it is an institution. The police mandate bad behavior. It pushes it on them. It necessitates that behavior. Even if you replaced all the bad police and put good police would still be a problem. So focusing on individual moral worth really isn't I don't know. But it's a good slogan. I mean, it gets people moving, you know? You guys know what I'm talking about. The problem is normal people will misinterpret it. Yeah, slogans should also be like approachable to the normies, right? No justice, no peace was pretty good back during the civil rights movement because it's not like a policy prescription, but it's evocative, you know? No justice, no peace. Like that, you know, you hear it and like you know what it means. You like get the vibe, but it's hard to misinterpret in like a malicious way. Like you want justice, you want peace. That's what the slogan is saying. So, yeah. I personally prefer fuck the police. I think fuck the police is actually more defensible than ACAB, but ACAB is used more often because it's less vulgar, I guess. Yeah. What? What's that? What? No. No. Can't give it too much attention. No, sorry, no babies, guys. It's not a baby. Baby was not what was suggested, okay? I did not decline a baby. There is no baby, but it's not my fault, okay? Make love to the police. Yeah, no, I don't like that one either. Not a big fan of the make love to the police slogan, my personal humble opinion. No, can I just talk to the camera? Holy shit. Fine. Jesus Christ. Yeah. Oh my God. Hey, can't monitor. Hello. Yeah, we're gonna just fight it. We're just gonna fight. Yeah, just right off the bat. She's such a faker, dude. She screams, and the moment you set her down. Okay. Ah! Okay, well, they can hear that. Can you not destroy the mic? It's like an expensive... Yeah? It's like an expensive piece of equipment, you know? Up, up, up. It's not providing you any stability. Get your paws off that. Jeez. Okay, before she destroys everything. Jesus. Thank God I got the all-around mic cover. Jesus Christ. All cops are cucked is better? Yeah, possibly. That might be better. Is super capitalism a good slogan? Super capitalism is a slogan. It's just a fucking meme. But it's a demonstrative meme. You know. Can something be ugly yet cute? Yeah, easily. You just saw. Hold on. Vosh, have you seen the situation with Destiny and that trans streamer who insulted him? She insulted his appearance, and then he said, I can't make any insult directed at this person's appearance because it could be interpreted as transphobia. The clip went viral on livestream fail. Okay, this is sure to inspire some discourse. Let me see. Reddit, LSF. Da da da, no justice, no peace. Alright, where is it? Is it here? Yep, that looks like it's probably it. Alright, let's see. I'm ready for the discourse. Let's see if this is true or not. Okay, to clarify, bottom right's me, top left's Destiny, center is the Possum Queen. Alright, I know you boomers need that help, okay?
We have motherfucking dangerous fucking scum like Destiny putting this shit on fucking loudspeaker in front of fucking thousands of people. What a disgusting, pathetic fucking Gusano fuck. Fucking slime bag. Jesus Christ. Fucking can't stand that dude. He's such a scumbag. Fuck him.
Dude, if these people were fucking playing games growing up instead of whatever crazy weird shit they were doing, they would 100% be dropping N-words on fucking Twitter, like, constantly. Like, guaranteed. You know they would be. They're the exact types of people, the exact personality types that would do it. Guaranteed.
All right. Wait, is this the clip? Destiny didn't say anything about appearance insults. Wait, guys, that's true as fuck. There are a lot of really, really toxic progressive people who engage in the same kind of abusive behavior that your average, like, 13-year-old Xbox Live kid does. The only difference is they grew up in a different community, so the kind of abuse they levy at other people is different. But, like, otherwise, the performative denunciation of people they don't like using hyperbolic language, I mean, yeah. What's the community you grow up in, right? But that wasn't the thing. Okay, wait, here we go. I think this is it. That's why I watch you, Vosh. Yeah, I'm the perfect blend of progressive and gamer. Oh man, there were multiple clips of this? Oh, fuck. Was this it? Okay, holy shit. Wait, how long did this go on? Oh god.
What are you, some fucking Destiny simp? Fucking cringe, Jesus Christ.
True.
Imagine being a fan of such a fucking manlet. Motherfucker needs to go fucking wash his hair.
I like how sorry, I'm gonna be raw as fuck with you. I like how because this person is trans, I could not make fun of a single aspect of how she looks without being called transphobic, but she can call me a manlet and say I'm greasy. Fuck you. What a fucking loser.
That's completely true. I'm sorry, there's nothing here to disagree with. That's 100% true. There are a lot of gamers who are going to use this as an excuse to, like, rage against trans people, but the statement in and of itself is definitely true. Yeah, it's 100% true. Yeah. I mean... In that, yeah. Oh, come on, Destiny, you are, man. I think Destiny's 5'8", but I mean, it doesn't matter. Vashi is greasy, though. Wait, it doesn't matter. The point you can't... I think it's actually against the rules for Twitch partners to make fun of each other's appearances, unless it's done in a really jokey, familial context. But, like, obviously, yeah, it's true. If a trans person makes fun of a cis person's appearance, it's just like them being mean. If a cis person makes fun of a trans person's appearance, then yeah, it can be interpreted as transphobic. That's obviously the case, yeah. We're obviously a lot more sensitive with the way we treat minority groups because we know there's a lot more like underlying harm that can be done when you insult those groups of people, especially based on characteristics associated with their, you know, demographic identity. For example, black people can make comments about white people's hair and they can say some really fucking mean shit. But if you're a white person, you start saying mean shit about a black person's hair, who fucking boy, you better you better watch out for the backlash because and you know there's a, kind of like an underlying racial animus to that as well. Because black people have gotten a lot of shit for their hair. Yeah, but why? Because historically black people have gotten a lot of shit for their hair because black people and white people have different hair. They have like, I think it's like, there's like a term for it in hairdressing. It's like hair types or something. And black people have different, like it's a different like type. I don't know if the term is like kinky or like different texture. I don't know, but it's a different type. Type 4? Yeah. Whatever the case is, black people have gotten a lot of shit historically for that. Oh, you should read the phrenology papers that they used to write on black people and black people's hair about how the skull, the inferior skull produces the weird hair. Like they would say the weirdest shit about black people's hair. I remember there was a company that got canceled for this a while back. They were doing this, they were selling like hair trimmers, I think. And they had some promotional images of people going from being like wily haired, like not having had a haircut in a while, to having like clean cut hair, you know? And it was like, and the slogan was like unkempt, civilized. So it's like white guy with an unkempt hair, whatever, big like poofy, whatever, and then civilized, and it's like all cut. When they did it with a black guy, and having a picture of a black guy with like big wily hair and saying like unkempt, and then civilized, and it was like the hair shaved down nearly bald or whatever. There are some pretty weird connotations to that, you know? There's pretty weird stuff. Now, I don't think that was done specifically to target black people because they had plenty of promotional images where white people were featured in the exact same way. The difference is, like, you know, it's just throw that historical context in there. You got some weird stuff. Afro hair is awesome, actually. I don't think the black guy had an afro. I think it just looked like he hadn't had a haircut in a while. I'm not sure, though. It could have been a style. Hold on. Wait. Hair trimmer civilized racist ad. Can I find this? Man, can I really not? I remember this being a big deal back when it happened. Wait. Nivea's racist ad re-civilizes. Oh, here we go. Okay, wait. I misremembered how it looked a little bit. But yeah, here you go. This is... Oh, wait. This is actually really weird now that I'm looking at it now. Re-civilize yourself. Look like you give a damn. And it's a guy with a black guy with shaved head holding a cartoon head of him with... That's just an afro. I think that's a... Yeah, that's pretty bad. That's pretty fucking bad. I remembered it being not nearly this bad. This is pretty bad. Man, how did their marketing team not... I feel like somebody... Somewhere in the executive process probably should have caught this one, you know? That's how you know you have all white people in your fucking advertising team. Holy shit. Yeah. Oh, God. Squad W. Have you seen this Fosh black anchor tells white anchor to say the N-word? This is the funniest video in the world. You can't convince me otherwise. This is the funniest video in the world. Holy shit. Okay, hold on.
Take hip.
They have to cut to commercial. Oh, God. It's so good. It's so fucking good. That one easily beats out the Samuel Jackson clip from that one interview for Django Unchained. You remember that one? Where he keeps trying to push his interviewer to say the N-word? Oh, God. Show it? Oh, dude, that one's so old. Yeah, it's even... Wait, look, it's even linked. It's so old and so well known that it's actually in the recommended videos after watching that one.
There's been a lot of controversy surrounding the usage of the N-word in this movie, and
No, nobody, none. The word would be.
Oh, I don't want to say it.
Why not?
I don't like to say it.
Have you ever said it?
No, sir.
Try it.
I don't like to say it.
Try it.
Really? Seriously?
We're not gonna have this conversation unless you say it. You want to move on to another question?
Okay. Awesome.
This one specific social context is the only context in the world where black people can oppress white people. This is oppression of white people, okay? Black people holding this shit in front of it. Hey, say it. Yeah, say it. Say it, white boy. Say it. Hey, say it, white boy. This is the one context, okay? This is our oppression, all right? It's happening live. Can't believe you're laughing at this. White bullying.
I don't want to say it.
Come on.
Will you say it?
No, fuck no. That's not the same thing.
Why do you want me to
They're
say
gonna bleep it when you say it on your show. Say it.
I can't say it. If I say it, this question it won't make air.
Okay, forget it.
Okay, I'll skip it. Sorry, guys. It was a good question.
No, it wasn't.
It was great.
It wasn't a great question if you can't say the word.
I wanted to ask about.
What a bop. What a classic. You know, so for me, I actually, with Django Unchained, the only controversy that I saw from that movie, this could just be, I was younger back then, I wasn't paying as much attention. The only controversy that I saw from that movie was, that really irked me, wasn't the N-word. They say the N-word like 400 times in that fucking movie. It wasn't that, because it serves the narrative focus of the movie. And also, apparently, Samuel L. Jackson was just running around on set yelling at actors to say the N-word more aggressively in the next take. So whatever. It wasn't that. It was that that promotional ad that Tarantino did with the female lead. The female lead in Django Unchained is a black woman and a slave who the story is about saving her from slavery. And there was Broomhilda, yeah, and there was Kerry Washington's the actress's name. Anyway, the actress posed naked with Tarantino in a promotional bit, I think for like some Australian or some film magazine or something like that. And a movie in which the female lead is a slave who's like sexually abused, I think, if I remember correctly, over the course of the story, and then like she poses naked with the clothed director. That's pretty fucking weird, I think. I should be able to show that. It was a magazine cover. Hold on. Tarantino Django cover picture. Kerry Washington. Not TOS, the fucking magazine cover, you idiots. You know, if you Google like naked yoga on YouTube, you can, or YouTube search naked yoga, you can basically find porn. Like, I can't find it. Has it been scrubbed? Or is Safe Search not allowing me to see it? Hold on. Safe Search off. No, it's still not see it. Do any of you remember what I'm talking about? I didn't just make this up in a fever dream, did I? Do any of you remember this? Well, I have Safe Search on the fucking Google account that I use for my streams, yeah. Goddamn right I do. Damn, I don't see it anywhere. Well, I know it happened. Yeah. Man, is it really? I remember this being like a big controversy. What would have happened if the interviewer had actually said the N-word? He would have gotten in trouble. When Samuel L. Jackson was doing that, he knew damn well what he was doing. The white guy could not have said the N-word. He's a media guy. It would have been held up. It would have been held up against him. Literally the only context he could have gotten away with that is if he was an actor and he had to say it because it was in a script. That's it. Vosh, is this it? Wait, hold on. Oh yeah, that is it. Wait, what the fuck? The nipple's out. Okay, I can't show that. Never mind. What? I don't remember the fucking nip being out. All right. Yeah, he's wearing like he's wearing a bathrobe and he has his arm possessively around her and she's naked and like, I don't know, it's like kind of weird. You would like that wouldn't pardon me for the Squad W double standards talk here, but I don't think that a director would ever pose like with like clothed with the naked male lead who's like cock is like a little bit out or something. I don't know. It's a little weird. Every once in a while, as long as it was consensual. Well, yeah, I mean, I don't think that she was like bullied into it, probably. She's probably fine with it, but it's still weird in the context of the movie. That's not Kerry Washington. Wait, is that a different one? I thought that was the lead actress. Is that not Kerry Washington? I might be misremembering this entirely. Oh shit. Am I the real racist? I'm misremembering this from 12 years ago, okay? If you motherfuckers want to cancel me, then... Wait, this is Nicole Galicia. Wait, this isn't fucking... Okay, never mind. Never mind. Okay, I don't care about this anymore. I distinctly remember being told 7 fucking years ago that that was the lead actress from... Alright. Well... Oh yeah, I've seen that ad. I don't want to play that ad. I'm pretty sure that ad is copyright or content ID'd. Usually advertisements are. What is this? Stopping Socialism TV? Yeah, these people are good memes. Stopping Socialism. When's the next gaming stream happening? I don't fucking know. We did one yesterday. We'll try to do more, okay? I'm gonna try to do back 5 to 6 streams every month. Don't let Doug Ten Nepal talk about big tech censorship. His channel literally exploded in the last few weeks after the Stop the Steal junk from 10K to 300K. You mean for the convo that I'm having with Drunken Peasants podcast? Yeah, don't worry. I'll be okay. Isn't Stopping Socialism a satire account? I have no fucking idea. I don't know. Does it really matter anymore? Does satire even mean anything anymore? I don't even know. How long do you think it'll be until the rise of American fascism? We're kind of living through it right now. It's always a slow process. Fascism just doesn't just like jump out at you. It's, you know, a slow process of normalization. Keep in mind, the beer hall putsch, or however the fuck it's pronounced, happened 10 years before Hitler was appointed chancellor. He led a little failed coup. He got locked up in prison, and then 10 years later, he became chancellor. So you don't always have like a direct rocket upwards. No wonder I couldn't find the cover if I was Googling Kerry Washington. Look at this. The Justice Dems are calling for electoral reform. Yeah, POG. Obviously. Extremely POG. Obviously. Trump doesn't have a platform, though. Trump is the president of the United States of America. For 6 more days. After which, Trump will still be one of the most influential people on the planet, unfortunately, due to his cult of personality. Doesn't matter if he doesn't have Twitter. He still has a platform. When you're that big, you don't need a Twitter to have a platform. You could literally make your own, like, media. Geeks and Gamers freaking out over impeachment. Yeah, of course. I'm pretty sure Geeks and Gamers are, like, an alt-right account. I've seen a couple of things from Geeks and Gamers where I think at the very least they're white nationalists. So fucking weird. Yeah, I've seen Marjorie Taylor Greene's plans to impeach Biden on the 21st. I bet you the Republicans... Dude, Democrats are such fucking reach across the aisle bitch babies. I have a feeling that it's going to make it through the fucking House. That she's going to propose impeachment because he stole the election or whatever on the 21st. Every Republican will vote for it, and a couple of Dems will vote for it in, like, the spirit of compromise. And it's going to make its way to the fucking Senate. Thoughts on this dumb fuck Ryan tweet? I love it when lefties do this. Ryan Knight, less than a year ago, was a fucking Warren liberal. There are literally tweets around of him calling Pelosi a queen, but now he's found his grift, right? This is an accurate representation of how far to the right the Overton window is in American politics. See, if you delude yourself into believing that AOC is a center politician, then yeah, this is what the Overton window is like. Let's move it even farther over, huh? The far left, the center, and the right don't have any representation in American politics. On the far right, we have Ryan Knight, proud socialist. This is what we have for the far right. That's how far to the right American political discourse is. Ryan Knight is our far right, and that's the best we've got, okay? And then over here we have like Slavoj Žižek on the right, and then question mark for the center. Yeah, you can do this shit. People love to do this shit with Overton window. With like the Overton window. Charlie Kirk does the exact same thing when he calls Kamala Harris a Marxist, and Ryan Knight will do the same thing, saying there's actually no people on the left. Bosh, this is true. No, AOC is on the left. Don't delude yourself. AOC is absolutely, unquestionably on the left, okay? Like, undeniably. People, a lot of people like to play this fucking meme game where they, thank you? Oh, just moving stuff out of the room? Okay, gotcha. A lot of people like to play this meme game where they're like, Bernie Sanders would actually be a centrist in Europe. That's not true at all. Bernie Sanders' full list of policy proposals would be pretty far to the left in any country in Europe. They like to pretend that he's center because then they get to pretend that they're only moderate left, but that's not true at all. It is kind of true. No, it's not true. The only people who actually believe shit like this are lefties who have never been offline. The only like fucking Overton window they have is the one that their Twitter followers list is, and that's the only like that's the only like range of political understanding they have. Okay, in reality, yes, Bernie Sanders is extremely far left in America and would be at the very least pretty left of center in Europe, like pretty left of center, maybe even far left in Europe. 100%, yeah. The only people who think otherwise are people who think that like actual communists are politically represented in any country in Europe. When you go over to Sweden, or if you go over to like Norway or Finland, do you think that there's like a robust and like politically effective communist party? No, they're Dems. They have socialist caucuses and socialist parties, but the idea that like Bernie Sanders would go over there and he'd be looked down upon by all the communists in parliament, and they'd be like, Bernie, Bernie, you say you want to pass Medicare for all, where there's only one healthcare plan and it's completely subsidized by the government, and everything, including dental, is covered. Well, that's nothing compared to our mega Medicare for all. Like, no, it's not happening. Medicare for all is the most radical healthcare plan that would have ever been passed if it had been passed. Which is good. I like radical shit. It's good. But don't lie about where it is in the Overton window. It's cringe. Yeah. That's how Finnish people sound, by the way. Trump isn't paying Giuliani. Oh my God, really? Trump has instructed aides not to pay Giuliani's legal fees. He has demanded that he personally approve any reimbursements for the expenses Giuliani incurred while traveling on the president's behalf to challenge election results in key states. Holy shit, dude. That is fucking hilarious. Trump, from day one businessman, wasn't paying contractors, and here we are. He's fucking 1,000 years old. He's the president of the United States, and he's not paying his fucking lawyers. His coup lawyers. Dude, Trump would be so much more dangerous if he didn't alienate everybody around him by being such a dick. Did you guys see the fucking leaks or like the info from Pence where apparently like Trump tried to bully Pence into overturning the election certification by saying that Pence can either be remembered as a hero or remembered as a pussy? Did you guys see that? He actually said that to his vice president. Holy shit. He called him a pussy. And the funny thing is, there was nothing Pence could do. Pence didn't have the power to overturn the certification. He had no power to do that at all. So Trump called him a pussy for not doing something he was incapable of doing. He's going to alienate fucking everyone on his way out. So funny. Bernie is far left. Yeah, I think Bernie is far left. Yeah. He's far left in a lot of issues. He's far left in America, objectively. And in pretty much every European country, he would be like left on most issues and far left in a couple of them, but not so much in some. There are some countries where he would just be like left on some issues, but he's not center in Europe, not by any metric. Is Pete Buttigieg better than Joe Biden? Pete Buttigieg's policies were absolutely more progressive than Joe Biden's. I think the argument, though, is that so the problem. Okay. So Pete Buttigieg is more progressive than Joe Biden based on what he was prescribing. I feel like I trust Joe Biden, or more reliably, I trust Joe Biden than I do Pete Buttigieg. Joe Biden just feels like an ancient lumbering husk of the Democratic Party who will do like just kind of follow the wave and not really like stand out in any special way and just kind of further the status quo. I feel like Pete Buttigieg would try to hijack the progressive wing of the party. I feel like Pete Buttigieg was trying to posture himself as the new like hope and change Obama type, and that in doing so he would try to neuter the progressive left of the party, and it would make it less viable for us to do the things we wanted to do. Whereas Biden is a very eminently hateable person from the left because he doesn't really make that much of an effort to reach out to us, certainly not in his rhetoric. So I think he's an easier target for us. It is possible that Pete Buttigieg would want more progressive things, so it's a trade-off, really. How much do you want to trade off potential electoral viability in the future for like concessions now? Sometimes there is a benefit there, sometimes there isn't. I don't think an extra fucking term of Trump would be worth it if I felt that 20 years down the line we could get slightly better odds on getting a socialist in office. because of the harm done along the way. It's tough, you know? What about Beto O'Rourke? Beto O'Rourke's a meme. Don't talk about Beto O'Rourke. Yeah. Also, the Pete Buttigieg shit with the fucking chief of police felt really weird to me. I don't know. When you look back at like Biden's history and all the fuck ups that he's made feel like they're like establishment politics status quo type of bad things. But Pete Buttigieg's decision to yoink that police officer or the police chief felt really bad to me. That felt like a very direct, like personal fuck up, you know? Yeah, I don't know. It's been a little while since the primary. I'd have to look into it again. But if I remember it, it felt pretty bad. How do you feel about Yang for New York City mayor? I think it's pog as shit. I'm a Yang ganger now, okay? We're Yang ganging. We Yang gang. What was this, Vosh? Never heard of this. So what happened was, so listen, never ever listen to lefties, okay? Ever. Lefties will lie to you about all Democrats. The lie that lefties told was that Pete Buttigieg was the mayor of a town, and the police chief of that town, a police chief's appointed by the mayor. The sheriff is elected. The police chief's appointed by the mayor. The police chief said that there were racists underneath him in the department, and he had recorded evidence of racism in the cops beneath him that he wanted dealt with. And Pete Buttigieg loves racism, so he booted the police chief, which is a lie. The reality is that the black police chief recorded evidence of subordinates being racist, and then went over Pete Buttigieg's head to contact the FBI for assistance in an investigation. Pete Buttigieg found out that the police chief had gone over his head, and in a panic, fired the police chief because he had like attracted a lot of he'd brought heat essentially to the city and to the department. So it's a little bit more multifaceted than like the lefty narrative. The truth of the matter is the police chief kind of fucked up by going straight for the feds. But on the other hand, what does it say about Pete Buttigieg that his police chief didn't trust him enough to go to him first? That's what I really worry about. The police chief might have had a reason that he didn't go to Pete. Might have had a reason he went to the FBI first. And additionally, the police chief sounded like he had incredibly strong evidence of subordinate racism. Like he had recordings of like the people beneath him who were saying stuff like, we need to get this black chief out of here. We need to make this a white person's police department again. That kind of thing, you know? That's pretty strong evidence. So, yeah. I don't know. I feel like Pete's behavior there was pretty fucking bad. The fact that he went to the FBI first is kind of an indictment of Pete's leadership. And additionally, Pete like reflexively firing rather than trying to salvage the situation. Yeah. Hey, Jimmy Snow. Get a load of this. I love getting a load of things. My assumption is Buttigieg swept stuff under the rug before. Yeah, maybe. There are a lot of people who said that he's like a CIA agent, but the problem is I heard that from the Chapo boys, and I don't trust anything they say about Democrats. So I can't. I don't know. Maybe there's something there. I genuinely don't know. Bosch, contention with the claim you made about small businesses. Oh, shit. Small business promotion is mostly a bad idea. From the People's Policy Project. You gonna do me dirty like this, man? Oh, man. Oh, God. Give me... So wait, just to be clear, the reason why I said I liked... The reason why I talked about small businesses was I was talking about the livability of cities, the diversity of local goods, and the employment of workers in a socialist society. If the argument here is going to be that small businesses exploit workers, that's not really addressing my point, because I'm not talking about small businesses in a capitalist society. I'm talking about democratically owned small businesses. So, I mean, if 8 people collectively own a small business and they're all getting low wages for it, I mean, they own the place. So that's, I mean, that they're the one paying themselves. Yeah, smaller businesses will pay lower wages, of course. There's less capital to go around. But I don't... Small businesses pay lower wages, provide worse benefits, and are often exempt from important worker protections. Yeah, okay, but we can fix this under socialism, yeah. For lower wages, that might just be a product of the economy of scale. large businesses will generally take in more capital per person employed. Provide worse benefits, that can be addressed through policy. And exempt from important worker protections, that's obviously something that can be addressed through policy. Yeah, so yeah, I think most of these problems wouldn't exist in the context I was referring to them for. So impeachment, well, the impeachment proceedings were obviously going to go through the House. I'm interested in seeing where they go through in the Senate. But I mostly just wanted to talk about it. Honestly, I just kind of wanted to vibe today. It's been a while since we vibed, you know. I do, however, have the impeachment proceedings up. There are a couple of key Congress people whose takes I want to hear, especially Cori Bush's. I heard there was a bit of a backlash to that one that I was interested in taking a look at. Wait, hold on. Can you talk more about social democracy and imperialism for their social programs? How does Norway and Sweden play into imperialism when they didn't have large colonial empires? If you're a capitalist country, you in the global north, in the imperial core, you engage in imperialism because you benefit from a series of economic policies which require the economic deprivation of the global south. When I say imperialism, I don't mean like they were invading the rest of the world or whatever. I mean that they participate, their wealth is extorted from the goods they get come from Southeast Asia, the wealth they procure, the goods. It's all part of a system that necessitates the exploitation of these people. Vosh and socialist countries are magically not imperialist. No, socialist countries can be imperialist. However, capitalist countries are by definition imperialist because it is through imperialism that high-stage capitalist countries are able to facilitate efficient economies. This is what Lenin meant when he said the final stage of capitalism was imperialism, in which he was correct. But yeah, of course, socialist countries can be imperialist. I'm not I haven't made any contrary statements. It could well be the case that a socialist country could be aggressively imperialist. That could well be the case. You know, the Soviet Union wasn't socialist, but imagine it was. It still could have been imperialist and militaristic. There are different problems to be solved at different like layers of society, you know? Would you call the US imperialist? Yes, I would call the United States imperialist. They're pretty wide. I would go so far as to say that the United States currently might be the most imperialist, you know? I think we might be winning right now vis-a-vis imperialism. How was the Soviet Union not a socialist society? They achieved neither of the prerequisites of socialism, a democratized economy, that's one, or a decommodified economy. They achieved neither of them. In reality, they had an autocracy where the economic welfare of the state was controlled by a set of party elites who were undemocratically selected from amongst their own ranks. This is definitely not workers' democracy, not by any stretch. Would you consider the UK imperialist? Yeah. Yes. The UK, like all other global north countries, has an economy which relies on the economic exploitation of the global south. It's not about currently having military bases in fucking Nepal, okay? It's not about militarism. Neo-imperialism isn't about militarism. It's about soft imperialism. It's about the World Bank. It's about the IMF. Was the Roman Empire imperialist? Well, yes, but for different reasons. How do social democracies move further to the left? By subscribing to the Vosh YouTube channel. It has been proven by a team of handpicked elite scientists that the only way to move social democracies further to the left is by liking and subscribing and clicking the bell. It's true. It's totally true. And you all know it's true, by the way. You all knew that coming in here. I don't know why. Don't know why you pretending right now. You knew that was the case. I hate saying this, but man, read the first page on Lenin's writing imperialism. Wait, are you talking to me? I have read the first... Wait, are you talking to me or are you... Yeah. You know what's going on with Destiny and the Chud Logic thing? Yeah, it's really, really dumb. I don't... The problem with stuff like that is that my word isn't needed on the subject. It's really dumb. Oh, God. But Destiny's correct on this one, I think. Thought Slime exacerbated a really stupid thing. Yeah. What countries would you say are not imperialist? It's a sliding scale. We live in a globalized economy. Every country, to some extent, requires some degree of coercion with their relations, unless they're like completely at the bottom of the list, you know? But generally speaking, the poorer a country is, the less likely they are to engage in imperialism. Funnily enough, I think North Korea is not imperialist. I don't think North Korea has the political or economic power to engage in imperialism. So I think this might be an instance where North Korea might actually be at the top of the list, because I don't think they're really capable of influencing much. They threaten to like nuke their neighbors, but that's not really imperialism. Would you call the US more imperialist than China? Yeah, for now. I think that down the line, China is a way bigger threat, though. Their population's like 4 times ours. They're ruthlessly capitalist. They're way more nationally oriented. I think they pose a much greater long-term threat. But for now, yes, we are undeniably the primary, economic imperialist force. Yeah. What about Cuba and Vietnam? Yeah, I can't speak much to Vietnam. I don't think Cuba engages in much imperialism. Now, funny, Castro did. And Che Guevara, they actually did some pretty wonky, like, direct military imperialism back in the day. Those times have passed, and nowadays I think Cuba's pretty, oh, it's not self-sufficient, but I don't think it, yeah. What did they do? I'd have to read up on it again. I think Che Guevara wanted to, like, spread culture to the unenlightened people of whatever. And no, that's probably a bit uncharitable to say. I'll look into it more. Historical figures tend to be mixed bags, no matter how you look at it, you know? Marx was kind of anti-Semitic. Stalin was bad in every conceivable way, in addition to also raping a 14-year-old girl. What are you going to do? Cuba is helping Maduro with troops, though. Well, that's not necessary. Okay, wait, hold on. Okay, I'm not familiar with every single element of all geopolitical relations between all countries, so I can't make very strong statements about stuff like this. I'd have to read into it before being confident enough to make these comments. Yeah. I'm new to anarchism, very confused by what the status divide is. Look, if you want to learn more about anarchism, go to Anarcho-Pack, okay? I guarantee you that Anarcho-Pack is going to give you better takes on that subject than anything you're going to get from me, okay? Anarchists hate it when I talk about anarchism. I just call myself a libertarian socialist because it's a very accurate and effective descriptor. I'm fond of that. So, that's what I'm happy with. Nico, Sam, stop dying in this hill. It's not going to happen. Chill. Okay. How about non-compete? I don't trust non-compete as much. Non-compete calls himself an anarchist, but he goes to pretty great lengths to say some weird shit that seems incompatible. Oh, God. Yeah, I don't know about that one. Yeah, the re-education camps. I remember that. Oh, God. Shamisen stream when? My Shamisen hasn't arrived yet. So we have to wait on that. The US is definitely more cringe than China, though, right? I don't know. Do you mean domestically or foreign policy-wise? Listen, we grade cringe on a curve, okay? Will I ever call into the Jimmy Dore show? Calling into other shows to try to bait the attention of their host is some low T, low IQ beta bitch boy shit, okay? No. I hold my fort, alright? I'm not fucking calling in, okay? If you want to call in to talk, that's fine. But if you're calling in to go like, hey, Jimmy Dore, I've got beef with you, like, no, that's not. I don't think Jimmy Dore is ever going to talk with me, by the way. What would the benefit be? For him, I mean. I would benefit from it. Because I would look very good in that conversation. Does he stream on Twitch? You could take him down pretty easy. Yeah, true. All I have to do is rely on people not being familiar with Twitch rules to damage their fucking profile. Oh, God. Didn't you say you were going to show the pins and stickers today? No. Oh, I did. I do, however. Look, this is super cute. Wait, I just had it up. Where'd it go? Oh, here it is. Yeah, look. Okay. So I've said this a couple of times before. I'm going to keep saying it. Merch is going to be coming somewhat soon. We've got a lot of really cool plans. It's going to be really, really sick. Look, we have like these really cool graphic shirts. There are going to be 2, maybe even 3 designs that we're going to have printed, so you can choose like what type you want. But it's going to say politics is dumb but very important, or something like that, like my YouTube header. And here are little chunks of it, because I show the whole thing, copyright TM OC, do not steal. but it's like a really cool graphic design. The whole thing is like this really big, beautiful piece. I would wear these shirts anywhere. I think they look sick as hell, the designs, because I have the full designs, of course. I think they look super sick. I can't wait to have them. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. And we absolutely, I specifically wanted the fucking Brainwo Jack. Absolutely. You didn't come up with that though? No, of course not. I paid a very, very talented person to. No, the art reveal will be when the t-shirts are released. Okay. No spoilerinos. No spoilerinos. Price range? You guys should be able to pay reasonable price for a t-shirt. We're having these t-shirts developed by a cooperative, so it's not going to be as cheap as if I was having all this shit getting pumped out of a factory in China. So it's going to cost a little bit more, but it should still be good. I think, yeah. Unless something changes, but it should be good. I don't know what the cost would be, but it's probably, I don't know. I don't want to make promises, but it shouldn't be more than 30, right? Like, I don't know. I've never done merch before. It should be less. I'm hoping to do less. I'm not looking to make much of a profit off of this. I make enough money from you guys. Yeah, it shouldn't be more than like 25 per shirt in the current shirts. Yeah, okay, cool. I think that's a good deal. I think that's a pretty good deal. Ethical production, $25 a shirt. I'm okay with that. Yeah. I think that's decent. I mean, well, you'll have to pay for shipping as well, but yes, of course that gets incorporated, but it should be fine. Are the shirts vegan? I don't fucking know. But yeah, they're ethically sourced, so that's good. It's good to ethically source stuff. Yeah. International shipping? Probably. I mean, it'll probably cost more. I don't know. I will more details to come. Fuck me, people. Come on. But yeah, it should be good. The shirts, it should just be unisex, like probably like extra small to maybe XXL, right? I don't know what the range would be. Okay, enough with the fucking details. Will the shirts come in feminine fits? It's probably just gonna be unisex. I think everyone just does unisex shirts from online shops these days, right? Like, it seems like an enormous waste of money to do otherwise, you know, because unisex is way the fuck more cost effective. I actually think the advent of unisex shirts has been a huge improvement to online fashion. Having to like choose before and think like, okay, the men's shirt is probably just a fucking rectangle, and the women's shirt is probably too small for me. Do I go 2 sizes up on women's, or do I have to tailor the men's after? Like, it's some weird shit. Just relying on unisex fit usually is pretty okay, I think. But it depends on your body type. You want to move some of Jimmy Dore's fans? I'll be honest with you guys. I don't believe in my ability to move Jimmy Dore fans, okay? Look, if you're I think all people are redeemable, obviously. I mean, that's the whole point of the channel. But in my interactions with Jimmy Dore fans, these people have been insanely fucking toxic. So I don't know. I don't know how much is going to happen there. I don't know how much good is going to happen there. How does land decommodification work exactly? Save the hard theory shit for later, okay? We're memeing and creaming right now. Are you going to make a crop top variant for us degenerates? You can make your own fucking crop tops if you want, okay? You have the power. You have a pair of scissors. You have needle and thread, okay? Trump Jr. got himself in an oopsie. The D.C. Attorney General's office has notified Donald Trump Jr. that it would like to interview him as part of its investigation into misuse of President Trump's inaugural funds, a spokesperson with the office tells CNN. Oh, that's good. Probably nothing's going to happen, though. Nothing ever happens, dude. The Trump family, they're so fucking... That defines Lex Luthor, because they keep doing crimes and getting away with it. Oh, shit. Did I F? Oh, shit. Hello? Are we good? Are we good now? What the fuck? I didn't even get an outage on my end. That must have been just YouTube. All right, well, Marco. 2, 3, 2.5 seconds. Okay, you guys are fine. I don't know what that was. YouTube must have kerplunked for a second. Well, now people are catching up slowly. Here, I'll just refresh chat for you guys. All right. Welcome to the Forced Refresh We got fun and games. There you go. Come back here. My little pog champs. Welcome back. All right. I'm catching you all up. There you go. Welcome back to the world. Welcome back to the world. Hello, hello, hello. Now watch. Guys, YouTube. You saw earlier how polos were like, there were 2.5 seconds later, and then there were 10 seconds later. Marco. Now you wait. 1, 2. There. Big wall. See? Everyone at once. See? That's what you want. You want everyone to be synced up at the same time. The website, the way it captures the stream from YouTube means that people can be desynced, chat, and stream. So you want everyone to be pretty synced. I mean, there's still people trickling in, but what are you going to do? YouTube's streaming apparatus has just been a little wonky the past couple of weeks. That's life. No nuke polo? No, that's okay. Are there going to be hoodies? Not immediately. Are there going to be more color choices than just white print on black fabric? That might be possible, but I'll have to look into it. I can't say definitively right now. Space Force is taking down YouTube. Well, at least they'd be doing something then. Will there be a mask? No, I'm not making any masks. Also, realistically, by the time the merch gets rolled out, the coronavirus pandemic should hopefully be on its way out. So, President-elect Joe Biden intends to name Jamie Harrison, the former South Carolina Democratic Party chair and 2020 Senate candidate, to be the next chair of the DNC, sources say. Jamie Harrison, this person isn't too bad, right? Yeah, I think this person's relatively cool, right? No, is he bad? Wait, is he good? Oh, wait, hold on. Okay. We're going to take a look. We're going to learn. New chair of the DNC, huh? Okay. American politician, pretty young guy, born in 76. So what is that? Age 44? Yeah, geez. Is stream being stupid again? Man. All right. Well, not much I can do. All right. Oh, wait. This is the guy who ran against fucking Lindsey Graham. Wait, I remember this. I'm sorry. I completely fucking blanked on this. Yeah, this is the guy who ran against Lindsey Graham. Yeah, okay. Sorry. I knew I recognized that name. I've got such a fucking bad memory. It makes me look so politically unaware, but I do remember that. But he never really had a chance against Graham. Him coming within 10 points of Graham was like insane. I actually can't believe he came that close. I was expecting him to get blown the fuck out by like 20 points or something. All right, how bad is he? Let's find out. Working for Jim Clyburn, all right? House of Representatives, House Democratic Caucus, blah, 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 blah. He's the first African-American to have served in the role of the South Carolina Democratic Party. That's interesting. Not much in the way of political views. I think this person's better than a lot of other potential candidates. Probably still not great. Vosh, can we debate? From Degenerate and Cap. Something tells me you wouldn't be coming at it in good faith, comrade. Generally, when people come into stream chat and their name's like, I'm a Nazi, hello. Usually they're just fans trying to get my attention. I see you people. Oh, shit. Jimmy Dore saying fucking stupid shit? Oh, God. This is worthy of my time and attention. Unironically.
Bernie's the establishment.
Yeah.
I mean, Jesus Christ, he's the chairman of the budget committee. That you couldn't be more fucking establishment than that.
Yeah, that's how it works, bro. When you get power after decades and decades of being an independent senator, that's when you become the establishment. Damn, dude. I guess Lenin was the establishment the nanosecond the revolution was over in 1917. God, he's such a fucking moron. I would love to talk to him someday just to make fun of him. He would start screaming, by the way. He would be like frothing at the mouth, angry talking with me, but he's so stupid. Ugh. Okay. It's funny because he's not even a socialist or anarchist. Jimmy Dore is to the right of Bernie Sanders, like unironically. It's really fucking funny. Oh yeah, wait, I had this. Hold on. Vosh wants us to purge conservatives. Oh shit. Endernax, the based not a Nazbol.
Some more broad-based innate appeal to fascist ideology than there is communist ideology.
Was I given a timestamp?
There's a reason we've seen more right-wing authoritarian, fascist takeovers of government whenever there's a left-wing insurgency. Whenever there's left-wingers out there trying, and it's not the CIA as much as Vosh would wish it would be so.
What?
No, it's because when you destabilize a country, you destabilize a liberal democracy. Who do you the communists are going to win? Really? All right. Have what? 2 examples?
What is it? Wait, so fascism happens when communists what? Is that what happened in the Weimar Republic?
Not even 2 examples, because those weren't democracies. Look.
Base in this country because it hasn't happened. Hey, that's me. This is my voice. Happened, people. It's still there. They're exactly the same. Nothing has changed.
Nothing
If you
has
have a
changed.
conservative-
Public opinion has only shifted wildly in the favor of social progressivism, and people have wildly different opinions than they did 20 years ago. But it's not the same. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter that people change their minds. It doesn't matter that most people are definitely chill with basically every socially progressive issue that you want. No, because of these.
People are chill with every socially progressive issue that I want. When has this happened? President Trump just took away LGBT medical rights like 5 days ago. What are we talking about right now? What? I don't know. I feel like these arguments are too incoherent for me to respond to them appropriately. But then again, the video is not a call out to me, so it's not supposed to be like a coherent set of counter arguments. Is this guy a tanky? No, I think this guy is like a progressive libertarian. No, I you know, to be honest, I don't really know what that guy believes. That's okay. Since Chill streamed today, I was wondering your thoughts on the morality of shoplifting from mega corporations from a leftist POV. Listen, if you're going to shoplift, like, just don't delude yourself into thinking you're doing praxis, okay? The only thing... Look, okay? Everybody fucking snuck out a candy bar at some point in their life. The frustrating part is when people start getting into fucking arguments about, like, the leftist obligation to shoplift versus the moral condemnation. Like, chill out with that, okay? It's pretty... Here, you know what? Honestly, my perspective, generally something to avoid if you can get away... If, like, this isn't some issue of need, okay? Especially since a lot of people seem to take pride in, like, torrenting, for example, or, like, pirating shit, you know? Like, the myth that, like, pirating or stealing or whatever is, like, praxis against a corporation isn't, like, really true. That doesn't actually bear out, okay? If you like the company, like, you should... Or, not if the company... If you like the product, you should probably make an effort to pay for it, you know? Pirating is not stealing. It kind of is. When you pirate something and it's a product that you were interested in otherwise, you're getting it for free, whereas you would have paid for it otherwise. You're not physically taking anything, but you are depriving the company of their money, which is kind of what they made the thing for. So, yeah. It's not the same as directly stealing an item, but, yeah. Copying is not theft. No, it's not literally the same as theft. However, you were inflicting a comparable economic effect on the subject of your torrenting or pirating or whatever. They can infinitely reproduce the product of basically no cost, though. Yeah, but what if everybody who would have bought it pirates it instead? Then nobody buys it because they pirated it, and then they don't get any money. So the consequence is exactly the same as what it would have been if they just stole them. So yeah, the infinite replicability doesn't mean there aren't economic consequences to pirating, but that's not what happens. There is a significant amount of profit that's lost to pirating. The argument, however, is that a lot of the people who pirate would not have bought the game. So this is kind of like the weird question, right? Is it stealing if you pirate something, if you know for a fact you wouldn't have pirated it? Or, I'm sorry, you wouldn't have bought it if you didn't have the option to pirate it. In that case, you're not really depriving them of money because you wouldn't have bought it otherwise. But on the other hand, you're kind of normalizing it for people who might have bought it otherwise. So it's, you know... Yeah. Hot take, but looting is just disenfranchised people. We're not talking about looting. Looting is a whole other sociological phenomenon. That's a whole goddamn thing. It's a whole set of things. As a content creator, I lose tons of people to pirating my content. The real victims, by the way, of piracy aren't big corporations. They're independent content producers. That's what a lot of people forget. The big people who are hurt by this are indie game devs, are independent illustrators who have their artwork stolen by big corporations or by people who just fucking use it for no reason. As a person who cares a lot about, like, independent art, and I care a lot about it, like the aesthetic, the industry, like, that's the big harm, you know, that does hurt them a lot. That's one of the reasons why when you go to, like, Anime Expo or any other conventions, they don't allow you to take pictures of their booths because they don't want you to just like, oh, nice art, walk off, you know? Monarcho Passad, I promise you I have looked at data on this. This is not an uninformed opinion. Yeah, art theft is pretty cringe. It's pretty bad. EA and Ubisoft are rotten to the core. Okay, here's my hot take, okay? Nobody should be pirating any EA or Ubisoft games because nobody should be playing them. Have some self-respect, okay? Don't pirate from Ubisoft. You shouldn't be playing these games anyway, okay? That's my take, all right? Just hands off altogether, all right? I have never played a single Assassin's Creed game except for the first 15 minutes of the god-awful PC port of Assassin's Creed 2, and that was all it took for me to be sold off the entire genre for the rest of my life, okay? Not genre, sorry, the entire series. Yeah. But pirating also gets, like, weird on edge cases, too. Like, what about emulation? Nintendo is getting a lot of shit right now because Nintendo has really anti-consumer practices when it comes to some issues. For example, Nintendo has essentially, like, blacklisted the use of add-on programs that have allowed people to make Super Smash Bros. Melee playable online. I'm not familiar with the technicalities, but Super Smash Bros. Melee is a really popular, intense, and well-loved competitive party everything game. It's just a loved game. And it was on the GameCube, which did not have online support. However, it didn't, right? I don't think it did. However, some people were able to make a wrapper for the game on the not the torrented version, the emulated version on a computer. They were able to make a wrapper for it, which allows you to play it online, like essentially an add-on, through a ROM, and it's amazing. You can play it with very little like lag or latency. You can just go online, play with your friends. It's just like playing like back when you were in middle school. You know, it's amazing. But Nintendo doesn't like that because that practice allows people to get their hands on Melee without paying for it. Now, Nintendo doesn't sell Super Smash Bros. Melee anymore, so I don't know what harm is being done by using a ROM of it and emulating it on your computer, but Nintendo didn't want to implicitly endorse that behavior, so they took down tournaments for people who were using that program. Pretty cringe, you know? There are other questions, by the way, about, like, availability. If you're a big anime fan, for a lot of anime, there's no way to watch it unless you buy the Blu-rays or you use illegal torrent sites. Not torrent sites, like Kiss Anime or whatever. So do you think it's reasonable that an anime that came out in 1983 that doesn't exist in any official digitized format should cost you $400 to watch? Like, is that reasonable? When price points start getting that high because there's been so little effort put into making this like content accessible, at that point, I don't know. Going on Kiss Anime seems like it seems a lot more defensible. Especially since the vast majority of people who are going to watch it on Kiss Anime wouldn't have bought it for $400. So, yeah. What about mangas without official translations? Varying issues too. You want to know what frustrates me? Like, here's what pisses me off. There is no good official Berserk English adaptation, sorry. There's no good one, period. Even the official one that was released onto iBooks and a bunch of other programs has a problem. I can't believe it. I spent so much money buying this all officially because I love Berserk so much and I wanted to just have it on my phone in HD, high quality. You know what the problem is? They crop the top and bottom of the images. They crop off the bottom and top couple of inches of the paper size, meaning that on pages where text crawls down to the bottom of the page, it gets cropped. I noticed this. This happens consistently. This is on an official iBook release. I actually couldn't believe it. I was astonished. Give me my library. Stop. Let me out. Let me out of this book. Get me into this other book. Yeah, look at this bullshit. Here's all the Berserk volumes that have been officially released, and all of them have the same issue. I don't remember which chapters have this problem specifically. I don't know where I could find it in a way that would be visible. Did you get a refund for that shit? Nah, only a few pages have text bubbles that go down that far to the margins of the page, but the problem is, if I just went online and went on, like, readberserk.com, then I'm using unofficial translations, which makes everybody sound like a fucking moron. Have you ever tried unofficial translations for, like, a manga? The quality here varies tremendously. If you have a dedicated fan base that's doing things chapter by chapter, and you have, like... Dude, most illicit translation projects are done by a group of mega nerds who are trust fund kids living off the money from their parents who never leave their basements and have flawless fucking Japanese to English translation in their head, okay? There are like 10 people on Earth who do this, and they are the heroes that hold up our world, okay? They are the atlases of our world, okay? If they shrug, they will. The whole world will fall down beneath it. All the really quick anime translations that you get, and the fucking manga translations, chapter by chapter, that come out immediately rather than having to wait a fucking week, unless it's being put out by Shonen Jump, in which case they translate it pretty much immediately in the Viz app. Like, yeah. Stop dissing the people making cool free stuff for people. I'm not dissing them. I mean, just they do a lot of work. Okay, I'm poking a little fun. All right, let me have fun. Fuck you. Yeah, what a beautiful duang. That was for a school project, I believe. Wait, did Jimmy Snow just said something? Fuck, I missed it. God damn it. God, I have the stock command. I should probably get better at using that. How do you feel about copyrighted images used in thumbnails? Right now, no one regulates that. Okay, hot take. I don't give a fuck about copyright images used in thumbnails. The reason why copyright exists is so people can't, like, rob you of a market that you would otherwise be entitled to with, like, a copyrighted piece of content. And nobody has ever lost money on a piece of art because a picture of that piece of art was included in a thumbnail. I don't know, like that. You can't even get the HD, like, print of a thumbnail. Like, it's literally a thumbnail. I don't know. I can't. If people start suing over shit like that, I'll delete all my thumbnails and not care. I guess there were some edge cases where it could be an issue. I remember at one point I used a random video or random image that I found for a video. I think it was the homo-fascist video, debating a homo-fascist, and I put up an image of a trans Strasserite, it was like a trans flag, but they were like a Strasserite. It was like a meme image or whatever. I put that up in the thumbnail. It's still there, and then I saw somebody linked me tweets from a person who said, "Holy shit, a drawing of mine made it on a Vosh thumbnail. Oh my god." And then people, because everyone hates me, they're like, "Oh my god, you should sue him," whatever. So I reached out to this person, asked them, "Oh shit, sorry, I didn't even think about it. Is it okay if I keep this thumbnail up?" And they said yes, so I kept the thumbnail on. Yeah. Yeah, what do you think of this guy? I don't know. He's probably pretty cringe, right? Cosmic Skeptic, why it's time to go vegan. He's right. Go vegan. All of you. Right now. Vosh did a good that tell a decent. Well, it's not, I mean, I just have to reach out, right? It's not even me doing good. Like, even if I was a bad person, you would do that to avoid drama, right? You should always reach out. That's one of the reasons why I'm always astonished whenever public figures get into drama around them mistreating other figures. Like, even if you're a shit person, shouldn't you be avoiding that just to, like, avoid trauma down the line? That's insane to me. Why would anybody be that careless with their branding? Like, they're not their branding, they're like public persona, you know? It's like, be careful. Holy shit. You only get one reputation, you know? Take it from me, okay? A reputation marred can be very difficult to clean. Look at this Lauren Chen clip. I don't care. Can we tomorrow we go back to the tomorrow we go back to the memes, okay? Today we're chilling. Hello. What's up? I'm getting spammed by ANCAPs. Why do ANCAPs want to wait? From different ANCAPs? Is there like a ANCAP rate? What? I don't know. Did you say something? No? Anyway, tell them to fuck off. Wait, does an ANCAP want to talk? I've never... Like 5 of them. I haven't talked to an ANCAP since Adam Kokesh. It's been a while. Right-leaning ANCAP as opposed to what? I don't fucking know. Sure, you know what? Throw them my way.
Let me ask. Not all of them.
Yeah, not all of. I'm not gonna do 5 consecutive ANCAP dates. No, I've never played Satisfactory. I'm not autistic enough for those games. I'm sorry. I am autistic. I'm autistic enough to sing song lyrics off key for no reason because I thought of them in my head. I'm not autistic enough to play Satisfactory or Factorio or any other similar game. Oxygen Factory, any of these fucking system builder games. How do we know you're not cynically milking your audience for money and clout? Wait, wait, what do you mean? Wait, hold on. I'm absolutely milking my audience for clout. Are you kidding me? What the fuck do you think my job is? That's my job, baby. As for money, I don't really bully people into like subbing or donating. I think like everyone who donates, I don't compel people to, and I don't do like little made up goals. A lot of streamers do that. It's like, well, raise $2,000 for X, like, and it compels people to do more, or like they incentivize donating. But you guys just get some subs and some colored names, so I think I do an okay job of that. Huh? Good faith and cap. Okay, good faith. Yes, of course, the ANCAP flag, right? I think I do okay with money responsibility. I do think it's really gross when people deliberately profit off their parasocial relationships. Now, it is a fact of the matter that I do have parasocial relationships, that I receive it from a lot of you. That is just a fact of the matter. I am a personality streamer. That's going to happen no matter what. There's nothing I can do about that. But I try to acknowledge it, and I try not to milk it. But there are people who will make money off of it. Like, there are titty streamers who will do that. You're my boyfriend for the day kind of thing. Or like, subscribe to my Patreon, $100 a month more, and I'll DM you every once in a while. Like that kind of stuff. That shit really bothers me. It's mostly something women do because usually women are able to exploit that stuff more because streaming audiences tend to be male. But yeah, it's a thing that anyone can do under the right circumstances. I mean, Stefan Molyneux did it. Stefan Molyneux's greatest supporters, like the people who gave him the most money, were privileged in that they were able to spend time with him directly. So, like, it's something that you can take advantage of all around the place. One of your haters was saying I have a parasocial relationship with you because I defend you. Well, yeah, they're always gonna. It's a pretty common retort against fans of a content creator. Have you looked into this, or do you specifically want a digital version? Oh, no. The Berserk Deluxe volumes are good. I wanted a digital version. I don't have room in my house or in my heart for physical print media. They said they DM'd you? I'll check it in a second. Yeah, Stefan Molyneux could be your boyfriend for a day. Physical manga so good, what the fuck? Just not for me. Art stream win? Probably never. Oh, dude, but all I've been thinking about lately is art. When I'm looking at the impeachment proceedings or whatever, in my mind, all I'm thinking about is art. I want to do that manga so fucking bad. Oh, God, that'd be so amazing. That's what I'm thinking about these days. I would watch you draw. It's a laborious process. Make a Trump manga? No, that's okay. Do you think people should be shamed for not allowing themselves to have a parasocial relationship with their fans and wanting to be seen for just entertainment? Why would you ever shame a person for not wanting to have parasocial relationships with fans? That seems like something you should praise people for. Parasocial relationships are like just a fact of the world. Sorry. Jesus. Are just a fact of the world, but like exploiting them is pretty bad. And a lot of people do that, especially streamers. Streamers have the strongest parasocial relationships around relative to the size of their fan base, probably because there's such a direct line of connection. Even though there are 12,000 people watching or whatever, you're in chat, I can see your chat message, I can respond. It's not possible in any other medium to do that. Okay, K-pop also has a very magical parasocial dynamic going on. Wait, what is this? I was going to roast Vosh about his music taste, the meme, but I'm hearing his rant about male fashion, and I've been inspired to make some clothing designs that are more masculine. Okay, this is sick as shit, all right? This is what I mean, by the way, about fashion being best for skinny people, at least in, like, as per my biases. But if I ever got yoked, dude, and I ever felt confident enough, being able to walk around and shit like this, not me personally, but, like, everyone, if we could normalize cool-ass shit, fucking, this looks like Rohan. That'd be cool as shit, I think. This is a good outfit. This is some drip right here. Yeah. Kishibe Rohan. Some stando power. I really like the like sweater crop top turtleneck. This is sick as shit. This is a really good item right there. Some good goddamn shit. Yeah, normalize male crop top turtleneck sweaters. True. You're meme jacking to Scrub King with your parasocial takes. What did Scrub King say about parasocial relationships? I want to say if you're talking piracy, that I'd say porn is something people should really try to start paying for / watching legally. Yeah, that's one of the reasons why I think the rise of OnlyFans is actually a really good thing. Like, a lot of people cringe at this, but like, people are jerking off to porn anyway. OnlyFans is way more personalized. There's consent is assumed because they run the thing themselves. You're paying money to the actual people who are working to provide you content. Like, I don't know. It seems like there's a trade-off because there's also more parasocial bullshit, but I also think that the OnlyFans maybe facilitates a healthier relationship with pornography. I feel the same way about people who draw porn, maybe to a lesser extent, though. Have I talked to Christine Malone? I don't believe so, but I've heard the name. Have I seen Pixar's Soul? No, I have not. Oh, wait. Wait! Didn't somebody say they DM'd me? Fuck! We have to talk to an ANCAP. Why did I agree to that? Okay, hold on. Let's do it. Watch Patricia. I can't watch anything from Patricia Taxon. She's super weird to me. Okay. Hold on. You need to watch Soul. It's so good. Well, I'm happy to hear that. All right. Let me see. Where are we at? Where are we at? Hello. What I'm going to say. I'm going to drop the hello. The H-bomb. For a guy. <sighs> 98% of this is a troll, but we do what we can. Yo.
Is my voice all good? Like,
It's kind of muffled and quiet. Is there any way you can get closer to your mic?
is this any better?
That is a little better. Here, I can turn you up on my end. Say something.
Something.
What mic you're using? Integrated laptop mic? Phone?
Honestly, just a random headphone mic. Like, I have a better mic, but that will take longer to get set up, and like, I can't really hear as well. You know, if I do that.
I think you. Yeah, okay. I think you sound good enough as long as you keep the mic at a steady distance from your mouth. All right, what's up?
All right, so I just want to start off by saying, you know, I believe in lib unity. You know, I'm not like an ideologue. I respect a lot of leftists. You know, I like your content and whatnot, but I don't want to go off too much like jerking off or whatever. But I was just wondering, what are your thoughts on anarcho-capitalism, like as of now? What do you think about it? I know it's kind of an open-ended question, but
I mean, it sounds kind of mutually exclusive because anarchy is largely about destabilizing or like deconstructing power relations, and capitalism is about giving people the tools to lord over one another economically. It seems pretty mutually exclusive. I don't really know. I've never had a conversation with an ANCAP or even a right libertarian that didn't end in them not being able to explain how the fuck their system would work in the real world.
okay, that's fair. I mean, I can understand that, but like honestly, I guess it comes down to how we define capitalism. Because you know, I know like generally a lot of people would consider capitalism to be private ownership of the means of production. But I find the biggest problem with this is like, what exactly does private mean, right? I mean, in the context of a state, like we're talking about like minarchism, right? You're going to have a state, and like public ownership means whatever the state owns, and private ownership is whatever. Let's say like I as an individual, you know, I own, but like, or not personal possessions, but like for, you know, commercial use or whatnot. But when there's no state, I mean, like everything pretty much has to be private property, right? And like that's the biggest contention I have. Because like otherwise, what exactly is public property?
I mean, it could be collectively owned by the people in that society. No.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I don't mind that. Like, I think that's just fine. But the biggest problem is if a state comes in and intervenes and says, okay, you have to give this much of a portion of your land to each individual in your land. I mean, at that point, then that's the state. If the state has the authority to say that, that means they have to have some control over the land, right?
Well, you can
like,
have a government without a state, Just because you don't have a state doesn't mean you can't have agencies or communal bodies whose job it is to make sure that resources are equitably distributed, right?
I mean, wait. I mean, in the way I'm using state and government, I'm kind of using them interchangeably. But I see you draw a distinction there. So, what exactly would you say is a government versus a state?
It depends on how pretentious the anarchist you're asking is, but I understand that the state involves like things like borders and specific geopolitical jurisdiction and imperialism and like direct autocratic control of like the legitimacy of violence, whereas a government literally just means any kind of human organization. Technically, a family is a government structure. I mean, when you have like the parents who give rules to the children, that's a kind of like miniature governance. So that system, government isn't going to go anywhere. That's integral to human social behavior. It's the state that we want to get rid of. If you want to get rid of the state, that's fine and dandy, but I posit that there would still be organizations that would allow for the equitable distribution of resources.
Wait, but like that seems like a hyper specific definition of a state. I mean,
it's an anarchist definition,
yeah. Okay, I mean, I suppose, but the biggest thing is that I don't have a problem with the existence of government. Like, if a family can count, of course, I'm not going to ban families, right? But like, when I'm talking about government, I generally mean like a governing body over an illegitimate authority over a certain chunk of land, right? Like, that basically what you said, right? It imposes certain laws on the people. It has the sole authority to or the sole monopoly on violence and whatnot and borders. And so I guess I thought of the government as what you would think of as a state. But I mean, in that sense, okay, fine.
Well, right. So like, well, I have to ask you, what would your society look like ideally?
Sure. I mean, honestly, like in the modern day, it's a little bit tricky because after industrialization, shit changed so much, right? Like, I would look at the Native Americas, I would look at that as an ANCAP society because, there's no existence of a state. And of course, like the belief of what land ownership meant was a little bit, that was a cultural thing there. But otherwise, like land was quote unquote owned privately, right? And it was operated on by the community and people who live in it. But there wasn't a governing entity that like mandated that each member of a tribe received this much a portion of equity in the whatever, right? Like there's no structure like that.
Well, they absolutely did, though. Yeah, Native communities absolutely did have systems by which they would ensure the equitable, if not equitable, at the very least, then the reasonable distribution of resources. They had governments.
Yeah, sure.
Right, the Native Council, I think, that that existed before we ravaged the continent with plague, was like one of the most sophisticated governmental organizations of its time anywhere in the world. People didn't own land, that's true, and that was, I guess, a different way they viewed things socially, but they certainly weren't capitalist. The concept of capital didn't exist. If anything, they were more primitive communist, where they were able to achieve the underlying social principles of communism pre-industrialization.
I mean, not necessarily. I'm sure there was a good level of trade and other forms of interchange, right? Capitalism doesn't necessarily require like a full monetary system. Like for instance, you could talk about I suppose like you could have a capitalistic barter economy. This is where individuals own land. They use whatever resources they have, and like individuals decide how much something should be valued, right?
Well, I think you're describing trade and barter, not capitalism. Like trade and barter have been around for as long as humans have been able to communicate with one another, right? But capitalism is a pretty modern economic system. Hello?
Okay, so like in that sense, like I generally just talk about capitalism as private ownership of land. That's probably the biggest criteria I have because I don't necessarily see the necessity of a full-fledged monetary system, right? Or like money printing or any of that.
Your definition of but if your definition of capitalism is private ownership of land, then how could the natives have been capitalist if they didn't believe in the ownership of land?
I mean, but when I say ownership, I don't necessarily think you need to believe you're owning land. I just believe when you occupy a piece of land and you use it for commercial use, that's technically you owning the land. So like, for instance,
they didn't have commercial uses in native communities.
By commercial use, like they were harvesting resources off of the land and using that for their own use, right? You don't necessarily have to use the land to create a company or something like that.
So to you, capitalism is when land is owned but not owned, but used for commercial use. But commercial use just means when you're using. So capitalism is when people use land. I feel like we're engaging in a degree of reductivism here, where every human society to have ever existed is capitalist. You know.
Okay, that's fair. Let me try to like a better definition. I'd say because I'm honestly more of an anarchist than I am a capitalist. The biggest reason I say I'm ANCAP and not ANCOM is in order to be an ANCOM, you need to enforce your will upon like everyone in the society, right? That's the biggest contention I have. So I guess I'm not so much of an ANCAP as I am against anarcho-communism, but I'm still an anarchist.
Wouldn't an anarcho-capitalist society like degrade into neo-feudalism? Without a state to regulate corporations, it seems like they would essentially turn into little private warlords. I mean, not even to speak of defenses of anarcho-communism, but anarcho-capitalism is definitely not a system free of coercion.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'll acknowledge there's a degree of coercion, but like in that sense, like ANCOM can still fit under an ANCAP society, right? Like a group of people could form a commune and voluntarily participate in it, and that would that part would be an ANCOM society. But the thing is, you're not forcing everyone everywhere to participate in a commune, right? If I want to go off and I want to, take a chunk of land around me and I want to use that to provide, to produce goods. And
what if a corporation wants to take that land?
If a corporation wants to take that land, then at that point it just comes down to there's going to be conflict, right? But like,
so who's going to win that conflict? The megacorp that owns the entire eastern seaboard, or an ANCOM commune?
And at that point, probably the corporation. I mean, I guess it depends on the size.
So why would they ever let there be any collectively owned land anywhere on the planet?
Okay, but what's the alternative, right? Because like what you're saying you're just saying you're bringing hypotheticals, but how can an ANCOM community sustain if like suppose there's like a capitalist revolution that just destroys entire community? Oh, how will it like that's like I can bring up a hypothetical and say that
what is a capitalist revolution?
I mean a revolution against the commune, like to destroy the entire concept of
you mean commune, so right? The whole world is like anarcho-communist, which doesn't mean the whole world is in a commune, by the way. Just a commune isn't like the only form of social organization in a communist society. So what would a capitalist revolution be like? Like what would that mean? Like where's the power and impetus coming from? What's the public will?
I mean, I suppose like the biggest thing is people refuse to participate in the system, right? Like for instance, I mean, whatever let's say institutions that are in place require participation from the community as a whole, right, under communism, because otherwise what you're left with is individuals owning production, which essentially boils down to some form of a capitalistic system, right? I mean,
right, but like what would so like a monarchist coup would be like you have a royal bloodline and they assemble an army and they like attack because the army believes in the divine right of that leader to rule or whatever.
Okay, sure.
Right. So like with a capitalist revolution in a communist society, who would participate in this? Like why would a common worker who collectively owns the means of production, who participates in the communal system, why would they think, yes, life would be better off if I had less economic power, I worked for wages for another person who had more power over me, probably for fewer wages because they need to get my surplus labor?
I think it's the opposite way around. They wouldn't want to reduce themselves down to a worker. They want to own the means of production, right? They probably want to control other people around them. I mean, I think that's generally how humans have operated, like all of history, right?
So
trying to gain power over other people.
It would be like
I just don't see how people voluntarily cooperate in the system where they're reduced down to a member of a commune.
But so it would be like an army of like 1 million people who all think they're going to be the CEO afterwards?
I mean, it's going to be decentralized, right? Like the biggest thing is like communism requires willingness to participate, even though ANCOM kind of necessitates that everyone somehow participates. Like I just
what do you mean by participate?
I mean, be a part of the society and participate in the production of goods, right?
You have to. If you don't in capitalism, you starve. Oh. Hello? Well, guess I'll chill out for a minute. I'm gonna type hello. Well. Yeah. Okay. Well, I guess I won. Nice. Well done, people. I'll chill in the call for a bit if they come back, and we'll continue. But yeah, apart from that, it's a victory. Nicely done, people. I was gonna read some donos anyway, so I guess I'll do that real quick while we wait. I do love saying hello. Oh, they say my computer was glitching. Okay, well, it's okay. I'm not going anywhere.
Okay.
Oh, hello.
Hello. Sorry, my computer just froze on me. I don't know. But
Oh, welcome back.
Anyway, you can hear me fine now, or
yeah? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear.
Nice. Okay.
Great.
Okay, so what was the last thing that I said? Wait, I said so. In a capitalist society, you have to participate in society as well, because if you don't, you starve. You need to earn the wage that is necessary to live, right?
Not necessarily. I don't have to participate in another person's business, right? I could go off and I could find some way to capital. Like I could see some resource and say, okay, I could, land, labor, capital, whatnot. Maybe I could produce my own labor. However it is, I'm not forced.
Wait, you're describing communism right now. Capitalism streamlines our economy in such a way that the diversification of labor requires that most people work very alienating jobs. The vast majority of people under capitalism aren't going to make their living carving chairs out of tree wood. But under communism, because the means of production are communalized, there's more time and opportunity for people to pursue those creative crafts if they choose to. The difference is that because people don't need a wage to survive, even if you chose not to participate, you wouldn't die. Whereas under capitalism, 99.9% of people who quit their job to go make a living off of underwater basket weaving end up having to go back to a job now poorer off than they were before, because the economy doesn't reward that kind of diversification.
I mean, but here's the thing, if someone wants to collectively, if you want to start a commune where share resources in that area, do it in a communal way, right? However, organize.
Wait, hold on. I'm sorry. Wait. Your voice keeps cutting off. Do you have your are you using push to talk, or do you have voice detect on Discord?
I have no clue. I haven't been in any Discord calls.
Are you on a computer?
Right now I'm on my phone because I'm going to try to restart my computer. Can you hear me fine? A little bit better?
It depends on how long you talk, I think.
Okay, I'm just going to try to get my computer up again, but...
Gotcha. Well, we can talk in the meantime while you're trying to figure that out.
Sure.
Yeah, what do you mean by, like, in a commune you have to participate? What does that mean to you?
Okay, so let me clarify my take, because I'm not so much... I'm not going to commit myself to one specific... In the sense of, I'm not going to say, okay, this specific kind of economy is what I want. Because when I'm talking about anarcho-capitalism, I'm essentially talking about a stateless society in which there's voluntary, right?
I'm sorry. You are cutting out a lot. I think you'll have to get your computer working again. I'm sorry.
I'm so sorry. I don't know what's going on.
It's okay. I love you. It's not a big deal. We appreciate you coming on. Anyway, get on that, and I'll call you, or you message me when that's working again, okay?
Yeah, I'll message you. Thank you.
Okay, be well. All right. All right, that's cool. Let's get that working again. Okay, in the meantime, let me read these donuts. Toasted Soup, Soystony, and Pew Pew, thank you very much for the incredibly kind Tier 1 sub. Love the name Soystony. I think that's new, isn't it? Celia with a very kind Tier 2 sub. Thank you, comrade. I'm just a Simpru gal with a very kind $10. Thank you very, very much. The Big Lebowski with the Tier 1 sub. Hey, longtime viewer and reformed right-winger, can you respond to this video? Is this guy a grifter? This is from Universal Man. The Force is real, but you're probably a Sith. This is a 32-minute video. I'm not entirely sure if this is the type of content that I typically respond to. I can give it a look later, though. No promises. Warframer Gaming, thank you very much for the $5. Really appreciate it. I should get back into Warframe. No, I shouldn't. That game's a time sink. Post Baloney and Tyler Swenson, thank you for the $5. Much appreciated. Gary Stack with $4. Thank you. Big Lebowski, thank you for the very, very, very kind $5. I'll take a look at your band, comrade. Much appreciated. I'm going to run through these quickly. Luigi Fan, thanks to the 2 consecutive $5 donations. I've already listed a Pink Floyd. I am not that much under the rock. Casper Christiansen, you can email me whatever Vaporwave track lists you like. Toes a Suxenberg and Spike's Tribe, thank you both very much for the incredibly kind $5. I really appreciate that. You need to read Trotsky's letters to the KPD during the Weimar Republic. I don't know if MLs would ever listen to anything Trotsky had to say, unfortunately. That's a really good name, by the way. Toza Suxenberg. That's really, really good. Lazy Sneaky Wikiki. Lazy, sorry. With the 2 gifted tier 1 subs. Really appreciate that. I have not. Kamajak with the tier 3 sub. Thank you very, very much. Gotcha. I'm glad you still love me, comrade. The feeling's mutual. Mossy Faye with the 10 Canadian. Thank you. Introverted Asshole with $3. Dango Bango with the 5. Dead Pirate Tattoo with the 5. Thank you very much. David Payne with a very kind $10. Do you plan on making a second channel? Nah, that's okay. I'm a personality streamer. If the people who watch my shit only for my politics make me a little bit sad. I don't know. Maybe it's just different goals, different aspirations. I like the totality of my content, even if I'm just rambling. I'd hope that people would enjoy everything that I have to say, or at least a lot of it. And not just not just like the political takes. Heartbroken Lamb with a very kind $5. Essence of Thought is a piece of shit. They and their audience bullied trans ally Rachel Oates into self-harm because she didn't drop a friend she wanted to make not transphobic. Nice to hear it, comrade. Thank you. And Conhe123 with a very kind $20. Watch your streams for a little while now. Wanted to ask you about the discourse around the term femboy. It's starting to be labeled as a slur? Femboy is not a slur. Holy shit. The people who are saying that need to go outside. Femboy is not a slur. However, I do think that femboys need to be desexualized a little bit. I think that would probably be important, okay? I said this before, but like, there are a bunch of other deviations from traditional presentation that aren't considered exclusively sexual. When cis women dress in like flannels or whatever, or like there are a lot of ways that you can like deviate from traditional dress or like presentation, but femboys are pretty much exclusively like a sexualized thing. The term femboy is like a porn term right now, you know, which is a little weird. Okay, they're calling. Yo.
All right. Hello. Now am I a little bit better?
Yes, you sound better. Hello?
Hello. Okay.
Yes, you sound better.
Now you're cutting off a little bit.
Okay, well,
my.
I promise you I have bits to spare, so it's probably something on your end.
Yeah, technical issues are the worst. Okay. So basically, I think the biggest misunderstanding is what exactly like our societies look like. I think if we're trying to attach yourself to a specific label and say, okay, capitalism has to be this ideology, and that train of thought to say, therefore, this is my position, we end up with a completely different position from what my original take is, right? Mm-hmm. I'm just against the existence of a state, and I believe that people should voluntarily be able to associate how they want to, right?
Sure, but what does voluntary association mean to you?
Essentially, it means no coercion by a specific state. Right, and I think implicit coercion is bound to happen, but I just don't see how an ANCOM society will fix that, or sorry, how complete anarcho-communism will fix that. Right, the existence of an ANCOM, a commune, or like a group of people who want to form an ANCOM society on their own, that's one thing. But like, if the entire world were ANCOM and there are people who don't want to associate with that, then they're being coerced into that.
What does it mean to not want to associate with ANCOM?
I mean, you don't want to participate in a commune, right? You want to form your own capitalistic utopia.
We have like 7 billion people on Earth. ANCOM doesn't mean that everybody's going to live in a commune. Like, it doesn't mean that everybody's going to live in like a large flat with 4 or 5 or whatever people where they all share in doing the dishes. Like, you.
I mean, that's not what I mean by commune, but okay. But like,
yeah, but you can be in an ANCOM society and live in a downtown flat or live in a ranch farmhouse somewhere out in the fucking boonies if you want to. It's not about where people live. It's about the economic and political organization that dictate the broader elements of how society functions.
What I mean is I don't think everyone needs to live in the same, like, and okay, I want to describe to me what exactly an ANCOM world would look like. Because if you had maybe one society that operate like a commune, but the rest of the world believe in capitalism, then you still have a conflict of interest, right?
Well, I don't
like,
think
I just don't see.
I don't think communism can be achieved non-globally. I think that's a transition that would need to take place globally.
Okay, so your argument is that anarcho-communism necessitates that the entire world is anarcho-communist, right? Because if there's certain people who don't want to participate in that anarcho-communistic system, then they're being forced into doing so. Because otherwise, if not everyone,
Well,
not the whole world was
you can make this
communist, then
argument about not wanting to participate in a system, in any system. No matter what global system you have, there are always going to be people who don't want to participate in it, but have no choice but to. Oh my God, I'm sorry. I clicked on a fucking TikTok video. My bad. That's always going to be the case, no matter what system, no matter how ethical or unethical. So the argument that some people wouldn't want to live in an ANCOM society isn't like, that's not really salient. That could be applied to literally any global government. The argument that I would make is that anarcho-communism, if that were to be the system that I would defend, which I guess it probably would be, is a system which people would, generally speaking, like quite a bit more to the alternatives. That capitalism is unethical and that anarcho-communism gives people more freedom and more personal choice than they would have otherwise.
Okay, I mean, I think I can get behind that. Like, I understand, you know, I support co-ops, I support people, you know, I support like market socialism to an extent, and I support all of those things. I just believe that people should voluntarily do so, right? Because I just otherwise believe that what you're left with is either a system that's not anarcho-communism, or it's a system in which everyone is forced to be an anarcho. I don't know.
Okay, so wait, say you have a
this,
capitalist country. So say you have a capitalist nation. How within that nation could you form an ANCOM society?
I'm kind of confused on what you're getting at, because I don't.
So you're
in
saying that there's more implicit. You're saying there's more implicit coercion in an ANCOM society because ANCOM societies won't allow capitalist societies to form, but a capitalist society would allow an ANCOM society to form. So I have to ask you, how could any ANCOM society form under capitalism?
No, my argument isn't that capitalism should be around the world. I'm just saying I'm against the idea of ANCOM, because what I mean by ANCAP is the lack of a state and people voluntarily free associating, right? So if you don't, if the whole, so like, okay, I'm trying to phrase this in a
anarcho-communism certainly doesn't have a state.
Yeah, but anarcho-communism, if you're talking about anarcho-communism, you yourself said that it has to happen on a global level, meaning that, you know, around the world, all societies have to be anarcho-communist, right? Otherwise, it's not anarcho-communism.
Well, I think anarcho-communism could exist like non-globally, but I think it would be unsustainable. The conflict between capitalist and non-capitalist societies would be counterproductive to the aims of both. I think it would be better to have a global socialist society that gradually transitions into a stateless, classless one over time.
Okay, so what you're implying is that the whole world has to be under an anarcho-communist system in order for anarcho-communism to even be possible. So if you don't, certain people don't want to participate. Exactly. So there's certain people who don't want to be in an anarcho-communist society and they want to form their own capitalistic society. Then anarcho-communism doesn't allow for that, because under your own premise, you say that if the entire world isn't anarcho-communist, then anarcho-communism isn't sustainable at all.
Right
so
now we have this with capitalism.
Society,
right now, wait. Where in the world today can you form a communist society without being destroyed by capitalism?
Bosh, you're pivoting right now. You're pivoting because I was talking about your specific claim that the entire world has to be anarcho-communist in order for anarcho-communism to be sustainable.
Right now, the whole world is capitalist.
But that implies. I'm not talking about right now. I'm talking about.
No, wait. So the issue is the thing you're describing also applies to capitalism.
I'm confused on what you're getting at, because I was talking about our utopias, right?
Okay,
like we're not talking about
you're saying that that let's just say communist, that a communist society there's a problem because in it people can't voluntarily decide to form a capitalist society, which to me sounds like saying democracies are bad because you can't voluntarily form a feudalist society within them, but whatever. But right now, today, in a global capitalist system, you can't just spontaneously form a communist country either, or a communist society. So yeah, I mean, that criticism applies to both capitalism and communism.
But
neither system will allow for iterations of its opposite to form within their borders.
But the capitalism you're referring to is modern day capitalism, which the only reason that is because there's a state that enforces that, right? But like because think about it, why can't I form an ANCOM society?
So wait, hold on. So wait, I want to follow you in this train of logic. So say we got rid of modern flawed capitalism and we had stateless anarcho-capitalism the world over. How would anyone form a communist society?
They find a chunk of land that isn't already being occupied, and
What
then
chunk of
find people.
What chunk
like,
of land
they find
wouldn't
people
already
who-
be owned?
I mean, like land that isn't currently being owned, right?
But
I mean,
land
like,
is all land on Earth.
Because you're taking a hypothetical scenario and then you're asking specifics about that.
Well,
but
no.
if we're
These are
talking
very
hypotheticals.
simple questions. So right now, all usable land on Earth is already owned. The only land on Earth that is not currently owned by some entity already are probably chunks of Antarctica, and there are like transnational treaties which dictate how that land is split up. You also have asteroids and other celestial bodies. So on Earth, how are you ever just going to find a chunk of land that isn't already owned? Like, why would there be unowned land?
Okay, another way to go about it is like, suppose you see people who occupy a certain area, and then you want to convince whoever owns that area that you want to form it into an income society. Or let's say like you find.
Why would a business owner ever be persuaded by that?
I don't think this criticism is unique to anarcho-capitalism, because like under an income society, how would like
no, but I have to ask you that. So because your system is equally incapable of accepting its alternative. Why would a business owner ever just go like, yeah, I cede all this territory so you can have a free commune on it? Like, why would that ever happen?
I mean, the sense of like, if certain people occupy land, believe they're being treated unjustly, they can have a revolution against whoever's in charge of the land.
Wait,
because there's no state to stop that from happening, right?
Wait. So you said that it's bad in ANCOM societies because they won't allow capitalist societies to form. But now you're saying that in order to form a communist society under an ANCAP society, they would need a revolution. Isn't that the exact same thing? Like, you're saying we would need to use violence to secure territory. How is that any different?
So I want to ask you, how would you form an ANCOM society to begin with?
Well, you would need like a global socialist society that would like sort of collectively set in motion systems that would begin to fade away the borders and decommodify the remnants of the economy.
Because to move from the status quo to another society, you require the change, right? Which oftentimes comes to a revolution. So like, I just don't understand how your critique is unique to anarcho-capitalism, because under an ANCOM society, if I wanted to form...
The only critique that I'm challenging right now is you said that ANCOM societies were coercive because they don't allow for capitalism. I think the capitalist societies don't allow for communist societies. So in this case, your system, anarcho-capitalism, is equally coercive in the respect that it doesn't allow for antagonistic systems to form within it.
Not necessarily, because here's the thing.
Then how could you form an ANCOM society in a capitalist?
You can't form a complete. Under your definition, we can't form an ANCOM society, because your definition of ANCOM society requires the entire world to be an ANCOM.
No. You could
system, right?
I think that the only way a sustainable ANCOM society could exist is if it's the entire world. If we want to talk about like a small pocket, and I think the same about capitalism, by the way. If you want to talk about a small pocket, how could you form a pocket of anarcho-communism within an ANCAP society?
Well, in an ANCAP society, like, if you're making the assumption that like every single part of land has to be owned by some,
No, like how could you get anything at all? How could you get any territory upon which to build an anarcho-communist society?
Well, I mean, let's say we do live in Ancapistan, right? I mean, think about like the Native Americans. How did the tribes find their area to live in?
They weren't capitalists. They were primitive communists. They didn't even have businesses the way we understand them. In an ANCAP society, like, the world would be owned and split up by megacorps. Like, we know that would happen. How would any group of people be able to achieve an ANCOM society?
I mean, in the sense of like, when you find an open chunk of land, you get a group of people who are willing to participate in that.
What open chunk of land? What land wouldn't be owned? Right now in America, all land
you're putting on a premise that the entire world would be monopolized already under an ANCAP society, but that doesn't necessarily happen.
This isn't the 1500s. There aren't open chunks of land anymore. Like,
wait, so I want to go back to like, because one of your premises, I want to talk about your premise here, that all land will be owned by some monopolizing entity.
Right now, all land on Earth is owned already. That's already happened.
But I argue that's because of a state, because state allows for monopolies to continue. What happens if you remove the state? Well, how do monopolies even form?
Where would there be open land in a world where everything is anarcho-capitalist? Like, what chunk of usable land wouldn't be instantly homesteaded by a corporation?
But how can a corporation just homestead a bunch of land and not use it for anything and keep on their monopoly?
That's
how does
because
that work, right?
they already
Because, like,
do that, and they do it by hiring guards.
okay, but even then, people who feel that's unjust can, fight the guards and take back the land, right?
Yeah, just
there's no
war
state
against them.
stopping them from doing that.
Wait. So your solution is everyone just fight and die all the time to like over petty
Well,
land
not all
disputes?
the time, because I don't believe, because your argument requires the premise that all land is occupied in the first place.
The
But
idea that there would be
were no
open,
state, right?
usable land in any
But here's the thing,
society
because
is delusional. That's not happening. The land's owned already.
But
Everything is
you're
owned.
making the premise, you're making the assumption that someone had to have gotten the land and been able to sustain that for so long in order for there to be
All
conflict
land is
all the
already
time.
owned.
But how would someone acquire a piece of land in the first place, right? If I try
Without
to go
a
and take
state,
someone
there's
else's
no
land,
such thing as just territory. You just secure it. The state is what
not
protects
necessarily, 'cause
private.
someone,
Well, okay,
not
what
really, because
determines
what if
who
people
owns a
li-
piece of land? What determines that?
whoever can get their hands on it, whoever has more power.
Okay,
but
so
here's
what?
the thing:
So
if an individual is keeping, is hoarding a huge chunk of land, then oftentimes others are just going to come and take them out of power, right? Or
yeah,
like
you're
they can-
describing feudalism. You're describing like chaos and death over land feuds, where different corporations hire thousands of poor people to fight wars on borders for them,
But here's
so
the
they
thing,
can
what's the
define
incentive for that
corporate
to happen in the
territory.
first place?
This is your utopia?
Not really. My utopia is where everyone has an individual area of land where no one else treads on it, right? Like if I want to protect my chunk of land and someone tries to steal it,
What if
I
they-
could fight to keep my territory. But what's the incentive?
What if it's a corporation?
You're assuming that everyone is perpetually motivated to get as much land as possible.
Yeah,
which I don't
well,
always think is
yes,
the case.
capitalism is literally predicated on an assumption of perpetual growth. Why would a corporation not just take your land? They've been doing this for centuries.
You're using a definition. I'm not saying that. Like, how would that? I want to go and conquer every single piece of land in the world.
So
I'm just fine
your
with having-
society's survival is predicated on the hope that vastly more powerful entities than you will just accept having less rather than conquering
Well,
more.
how
in
do
stark
people become
defiance of
vastly more
all of
powerful
human
then?
history.
Wait. How do people become vastly more powerful? That's my question. Because let's go back to your analogy because I feel
Wait,
like this
I
is
need
an
no,
important,
I need you to
interesting
answer
thing.
these questions. So your system to prevent the way people become more powerful is by taking things. Back in primitive accumulation days, the way the Western powers were able to grow so strong is because we used a combination of military might and mercantilist corporations to rape the rest of the planet. All of human history has been about people with power without restrictions taking everything they can. There has never been an empire that just decided, we're big enough. That doesn't happen. It doesn't happen. So why would
how do they keep their
corporations...
power, right?
Why would corporations not just eat up your house? Like, why wouldn't they just eat up all the territory they could?
What would they do with my house? Like, how would they keep being able to get more and more and more houses, right? How would they get that?
They could bulldoze it. They could put a shop up there. They could bulldoze it and replace it with something more profitable, or they could cut it in half and for twice the price and half the land, they could turn it into a corporate town, and they could use your house to house the employees of their local factory.
Wait, well, what happens when they can no longer keep buying these things? Because this money relies on others voluntarily giving the money to do that, right? They have to be selling some product, or they have to be doing some service in exchange for some wealth.
Yeah, they turn your house, they turn
right?
it into an efficient unit of economic production, and then they sell it back to other people who have
how
already
do they
been
have the money
conquered.
to buy my house in the first place, right? You're assuming that people can just continuously keep getting wealth. But if I'm greedy and I keep fucking with other people's territory, then no one's gonna want to buy stuff from me anymore, right?
Come on, wait, you really think? Wait, you
exploitative.
think people will boycott corporations in an ANCAP society? What if the corporation owns the territory you live on? What, you're just gonna not buy water? They'll shut off the water to your house, my dude. What if you live on you realize most Americans rent, right? Like, if your territory is already owned by a corporation, if you speak out against them, they'll just shut off your water. That can be part of the preconditions in the tenancy lease that you signed. It's not like there's a state to review these contracts after all. Like, if you boycott them, they just shut off your water. They'll kick you out. There are other people who need that house.
I mean, so your argument is that they're going to come to my house and basically take me out of there and take my water, but there's going to be water in other areas, right? It rains all the time. They're going to be
you're going to drink rainwater?
Well, I mean, there's always going to be water somewhere, right? Like in the sense of
Sure,
like,
okay, then you can be kicked out and you
so-
can go live in the forest and you can drink rainwater off the fronds of big plants. What about, like, how does that affect the corporation? Another person has already moved into
But
your
here's the thing:
apartment.
who's going to volunteer? Well, here's the thing: your argument is that the corporation's going to keep being able to get more and more people to buy their water. But if there's other sources of water, then that monopoly doesn't
Where do you
last
think
for long
water
at all.
comes from? The water we drink comes from reservoirs and from lakes that are privately owned. Where else are you going to get water from? Do you think the whole world is just going to drink rainwater?
Well, because by the time that enough people stop buying into the corporation's bullshit, they're going.
What do you mean?
The corporation's
You
not
live
going
on
to be
the
able to stand, right? It's
corporation's
gonna lose its power.
property. The police officers in your area are employed by the corporation. Your food is branded by the corporation. What are you going to do to rebel against them? There's no other authority to appeal to.
I mean, you just move out of their territory, right?
What if they just shoot you for trying to move out?
People.
What if they do some fucking Berlin Wall shit and it's like, hey, you want to leave our territory? Fuck you. You were born here. This is where you are.
I mean,
Who's
at
to
that
stop
point,
them?
we're no longer under ANCAP because that essentially becomes a government or a state, right?
Yeah, that's the point. States are inevitable unless you form decommodified systems that can replace them. Corporations will just form feudal states. Like, what would prevent them from doing that? Why wouldn't they? It's the soundest and most stable, like, way of developing your power. All power relations trend towards equilibrium. The equilibrium for the society you describe is feudalism. That's why humanity lived under feudalism for thousands of years. It's a stable system. You have complete autocracy with decentralized ownership collected in the hands of the aristocracy or a managerial board.
I mean, I guess that's fair. Like, but I just want to know how ANCOM is sustainable too, right? Because I'm not because I can be convinced, but I just want to understand what happens when people stop wanting to, be a part of the commune. What happens when
What does
people
it mean to
want
be a part of the
dominate
commune?
others?
Like, what are they missing out
you're talking
on?
about how, so like earlier in the call, you were talking about how each worker would be incentivized to collectively own a share in whatever,
Well, they would make democratic decisions about whatever economic system they were a part of. Yeah. So if they worked at a factory, they would make democratic decisions about what they produced and what to do with that production. If they lived at a coffee or worked at a coffee shop, they'd do work there. I mean, yeah,
Okay, sure, but what what does that mean? Everyone in the business or whatever entity there is has equal amount of power, or are some people going to have more of a say, right? Because like, if we're trying to make a decision about what's the most economically sound thing to do, and I'm an economist or I'm a mathematician, and no one else is, like, why should everyone else's voice have the same amount of credibility as mine? Right?
Well, it wouldn't. Like, I mean, it's democracy doesn't mean all voices get equal credence. If the democratic decision is where should we direct our water supply, I don't think, for example, that like the 5 engineering workers should get equal weight to like the city planner. Obviously, like, management has to be stratified in such a way that people have responsibility over different jobs. But we have that today. America is a democracy. It's a very fucked up one, but it is a democracy. And in America, we don't referendum every single issue where every single thing is done on first past the post,
But what's happening is Oh, sorry.
We delegate some issues to experts, which is probably good. I don't know if people can handle voting on hyper-complicated trade policy. I'm not entirely sure if that would be... I'm not sure if that would be a good way of, like, fixing social problems. Not every person can be an expert.
But isn't that the entire point that, like, ANCOM is trying to go against the idea of, like, centralized power in the hands of a few? What you're doing is you're giving it to the few people who are going to make the decisions, right? Like, in the sense of, like, there's actually someone in charge of, like, making the final... orchestrating the decision.
On appropriate issues, it's fine. I'm okay with medical decisions being made by medical experts. I'm okay with, like climate change related issues being deferred to climatology experts. Like, there's a big difference between power consolidated in the way that, like, an autocracy does, and power consolidated in the hands of experts who are specialized in the specific subject that's being discussed. Like, that's a really big difference, The hierarchy of expertise is a valid hierarchy. What else is the point of knowing more?
Yeah, true. I mean, but I guess the biggest contention I see is how is that sustainable in the long run, right? Who's going to stop me from maybe dominating my workers or taking,
how would you dominate them?
Like, let's say I'm trying to think of, like, specifically how an ANCOM society would even look, right? Well, what would the institutions look like? How would who would be in charge of keeping it together, right? Like unless there's some sort of a state or some sort of a governing entity.
Well, there would be a governing entity.
What's the cohesive
cooperative
what's
ownership?
the cohesive force?
Cooperative ownership is a government. Let's say it's an anarcho-syndicalist society. You have an overlapping collection of essentially mega unions that are democratically voted on with striating tiers of participation in workers' councils, and collectively they kind of decide all the major things in society. They do it through stratified liquid democracy, and it's a system by which we figure out most of the major problems in society without any kind of central authority. You know, you have like a syndicate that's tasked to like social organization, and you have a syndicate that's tasked towards like material production and distribution, and so on and so forth. Like, say that. How would you and why would you revolt against this?
I mean, I guess I would personally like that, but like suppose someone else was greedy and they wanted more than just to be a part of maybe like one syndicate, right?
But what would they do?
Own a syndicate. They wanted to own 2 syndicates.
Well, nobody would own it. I mean, they would just be a part. They would be like a voter in one or both of them. But like, what do you mean? Like, what would they do? Like, how would they do that? How would they achieve that power?
I guess if everyone else in the society is convinced, and if I was the only one who wanted to do that, then I guess everyone else could stop me. But like, let's say, like, but everyone still needs to be willing to participate in the system, right? If you look at it on a systemic level, everyone needs to vote in these decision-making process. Everyone needs to cooperate, right? Do you get where I'm coming from here? Like,
sure,
like everyone
but in
needs
a capitalism,
to be a part of the
everyone
system.
has to work. I mean, that's all systems require some degree of like coercive cooperation. Obviously, we can't have a society where people have absolutely no like degree of levied engagement with the world they live in. But how would you get people to revolt? Like,
I mean,
what
like,
would the motivation be? Like, what are they lacking?
I guess if the society does work out well, I'm fine with it. I mean, I guess the biggest contention I had is people being forced into just voting in a syndicate or like not being able to own their own land. But I see how like it could be a problematic the other way around.
Well, they could. I mean, they can abstain from voting. I'm not suggesting like complicit voting or anything. Like, but if they're a good member of their like local syndicate or of their union or whatever, then they probably should be participating. If they don't want to, they don't have to, I guess. But
so I'm guessing you're in favor of a market system, right? I thought you were more of a mutualist, or are you? I'm just wondering where you stand.
I think there are some elements of society where market economies are ethical and functional, and that the market economy is just seems to be like a fact of the universe. Supply and demand just seems to be a fact of the universe. The best thing that we can do is stratify society to make sure that our market systems are as ethical and as functional as possible, which I think is totally possible. Yeah.
I mean, once again, I said I'm pro co-op and pro all that.
Right. But again, like my issue is that in a society that's truly democratized, like a communist one, what would the impetus be for a revolution? Like, what would you be trying to take that you could get? There isn't like a power structure for you to seize. Everything is democratized. You can't accumulate wealth and use power that way. The only thing you could really do is like democratically convince thousands of other people that you would be better as a supreme leader or something.
That's fair.
Yeah, but like that's I mean, that's a pretty hard sell, you know? Like, vote me in, I'll take control.
So Vosh, here's the deal, right? On the premise that we already somehow established a society this way, I think it would be pretty stable. But how do we get there, right? Like, I mean, Marxism relies on a centralized, like worker state in order to get there. But that would mean, you know, centralized power in the hands of a few, which would lead to more problems, right? But like,
a worker's state,
or if we
a worker's state or a dictatorship of the proletariat literally just means a state which serves the interests of the proletariat. It doesn't mean that it's autocracy. It could be a democracy. It could be extremely democratic, more democratic than America. It could be a liquid democracy, you know?
But in reality, how well does that work out, right? Because you're still giving the power to rule over a certain area, right? It's still a state in the sense of it's going to have a military, it's going to have, you know, state-run institutions, it's going to have all that. And that means giving power to the hands of a few. And why would they be incentivized to look out for the workers when, you know, those who have more, like, I just don't understand. Like, when you revolution, like, let's say you have a revolution and, you know, you seize the means of production, like, how would you form a worker state, and who gets to decide who is charge of that worker
Well,
state?
the goal would
Who
be
gets
to
to make the decisions?
democratize the economy and then well, I mean, it's a democracy. The person who would make the decision was the person who was elected, right? Or the people who were
Yeah,
elected.
sure. But how do you get there? Like, who decides? Who gets who organizes the democracy?
I don't know what you mean. The bourgeois are overthrown and then a new constitution is chartered, right? I mean, there's not like you don't like press a button and there's an instant transition, and there are a million ways it could go down, but like we have already made democracies from nothing. We wrote the constitution. It's not a great document, but it's probably better than what England was
That's
at the
true.
time. Yeah,
That's
so
been done.
yeah, it's possible to like make these big shifts. You just need the power to secure that transition. We were able to do so back in 1776 because we were far away from England and we had a lot of patriots within our borders. And if we ever arrived at a point in a country where they felt they had sufficient internal and external support for a workers' revolution, or honestly, even for a peaceful power grab, if it was possible, that'd be ideal, I guess. Then they could ratify a new constitution, which secures hands in the power of the working class, eliminates the bourgeois and capitalism as we understand it. And then from that point forward, it's just a matter of securing the democratic processes to achieve socialism.
Well, in that case, but that would be fine. But in the modern day, I just don't see how it's possible. Like the amount of nukes, and the amount of militarized power the government has is insane. Like unless we can somehow get rid of all of that from the people in power, like how do we do that?
Well, the goal would be democracy, right? I mean, that's the thing. Like, we can't war against the United States. Nobody could win against the United States. The goal would be to slowly weaken the capitalists within our country, to secure allies abroad, and to eventually reach a point where a majority of the people within our country are supportive of radical propositions which destabilize or delegitimize the bourgeois. If the bourgeois then retaliate with some attempted coup or like a worker or like a business plot as they attempted to back in the 1920s or whatever, then in that case, they are the aggressors and they are acting not necessarily with the permission of the United States military. The military, all they have to do is step to the side as we finish the work, after all. The bourgeois on their own are what? How many hundreds, how many thousands of wealthy people? They're nothing compared to us, not in numbers. If the military is sufficiently sympathetic to the cause of the proletariat, then after that, it's just a matter of dealing with their antagonism, and then we win.
But like you're still relying on, you're saying you want to go about it through electoralism and, democratizing and like better policy passed that supports the interests of the working class, if I'm understanding correctly. It still relies on the willingness of politicians to cooperate. But how can we do that, right? Because politicians
What do you mean politicians cooperate?
I mean, politicians like seek to pass policies that are in the interest of the working class, right? In order to
I would
have
like
more
them to.
democratizations. Yeah, but how is that really possible when they're more incentivized to serve the interests of the wealthy, right? They're receiving the working class can't pay them as much as the super rich.
That's the dialectic.
Right?
You move the general population further and further left, they vote in more left-leaning people, and as the antagonism grows more clear, the fact that we keep voting in left-leaning people, but the government keeps ignoring like the push towards the left, the greater that antagonism is, the more likely it is that we can take advantage of that for agitative sentiment, that we can take advantage of that in some way. I think reformism is only useful insofar as it's a tool that can radicalize the working class, but beyond that point, I don't think the bourgeois are going to give up their power willingly. It would be nice if they did, though. Of course. It's not impossible that they do. It is conceivable that they see the writing on the wall, they say, okay, fine, and they go build some island fortress to live on for the rest of their lives. That's not impossible. It would be nice if they did that.
Yeah, of course, but
right.
Oh well. But here's the thing, though. Like even then, like you need to stop lobbying, right? Because you're still relying on politicians serving like the interests of the people. Like let's say I vote in, some politician who says that they're going to, institute universal health care. They're going to establish a minimum wage, do all these like progressive policies. Mm-hmm. But in reality, they just don't do it, right? Because like how would you ensure that they actually do what they say they're going to do? Because there's no incentive for them, because people who already have power, this relies on them giving up their power voluntarily to other people. I think it goes back to like a similar analogy, like when a person who owns a piece of land, like you can't just convince them to give the land to the people who live in it, right?
Well, if there's a democratic process that secures the transition of power from one individual to another, you can defer to legal institutions to secure their removal. We're doing that with Trump right now. If Trump could, he would absolutely stay in office, but The
Of course. I mean,
institutions,
it's not-
the institutions are stronger than him. And as long as we continue to secure those institutions, and as long as we use them to the best of our ability, there is headway that can be made electorally. For example, lobbying, probably can't get rid of it entirely, but we can certainly legislate around it. There are things we can do, changes that we can make, and we know these are things we can make because there are European countries who are better at handling this stuff than we are. These changes are essential on the path towards revolution. So we should do what we can now. And if we feel that that agitation is boiling up in the future, then we can talk about.
But you can only get so far through electoralism, right? Because many of these European nations, they're passing policies. There's parties that are actively trying to get rid of. Like I think we talked about this with Denims, I think yesterday, but they're actively trying to get rid of these progressive policies that they've already put forth. So like SOCDEM is just like a temporary, positive change, which is just going to be reverted by those in power again. So like the only way you can do it is to somehow convince the politicians to be completely sympathetic to the working class.
Well, you don't convince the politicians. The further left you move the population, the more left-leaning people you can elect into office. Like so there are limits on the extent to which they can fuck with the system. If every American, every single one of them, went ahead and voted for like who's like a super left-leaning, I don't know, Mike Gravel, some very very left-leaning politician, like they wouldn't just ignore that. Like they can't just ignore that. The ruling class can't go like, Jeb Bush won, woo! Like it doesn't work that way. Our system does allow for some pushback from the working people. It's not great, but it's a little bit. Like there are so many thousands, tens of thousands of people involved in this process, and you have to understand the vast majority of the legwork is done by the proletariat. This is the case for the military too. It may seem like people at the top are making decisions, but they stand atop a very tall and rickety ladder. In reality, most of the groundwork for anything done by the ruling class is actually laid by the tens of thousands of people beneath them, people sympathetic, hopefully, to the needs of the working class. And those ruling class people know that. So if the public will is strong enough, change can happen. It's just a matter of pushing people in that direction.
Okay, I mean, and I don't disagree with you here. I just want to kind of play devil's advocate because, I just want to convince. I'm kind of cognitively dissonant, as you might have seen this whole time. Like, I'm not even fully attached to a position. I just want to understand why I should commit all the way, right, to whatever ideology to any ideology, really. But, like, so let's say you're saying that somehow the military should be sympathetic to the working people because otherwise if they turn against the people, we're pretty much fucked. So we need to somehow get the military sympathetic to our interests. But what if like the government or whoever's in power sees whatever is happening, right, this antagonism, and they try to push more like policies to maybe get them more sympathetic with the bourgeoisie, right? Maybe increase the salaries of military people or privileged people who work in the military over other people.
That's a thing that's happened historically. Usually leaders, like especially back in the days of the monarchy, when they felt threatened, they would start upping the salaries of their private army. That's a pretty common thing. Even if it meant starving their population, the people who got fed were the soldiers. And the reason they did that is because they knew the angrier the peasantry got, the more they were going to need to rely on the soldiers not turning around and stabbing the king. That is a thing that has happened, and yet monarchies are mostly gone from the world. I think the fact remains that at this point, our economy and our society are decentralized enough that it would be very difficult to move the military in that way. A military man is not just the sum of their training. They went to school, they had friends, they have family, they got shipped off, and they may hold their opinions. The majority, by the way, of soldiers today voted for Biden, those soldiers who voted at least.
And that's surprising to me, actually.
Police trend in favor of Trump, military in favor of Biden, for a bunch of really interesting reasons. But the point that I'm trying to make is that it is true that there are some people in the military, I'm sure, who could be swayed easily by that kind of cynical attempt at leveraging their power. I don't know how effective it would be, how reliably it would be effective. I mean, in the long term. I have some faith in the way our system works.
And I mean, that's why I'm partly like, I know this might seem kind of like a non sequitur, but I'm pro-gun, right? I think that the state shouldn't have a monopoly on violence, even if there does exist a state. And like, I do believe, like, of course, like 100 people with, even like AK-47s or whatever, they have no bearing on the U.S. military. And that's probably a common argument used by anti-gun people who want to say, oh, like any attempt to shoot, any government official is going to result in failure because the government has so much more power. But one thing they don't realize is that like you have to somehow like use like how, let's think about it. Like so let's say like I was being assaulted by a police officer and I decide to shoot the officer. Like at that point, like what use is the government's power if I'm just in a small individual interaction with some state agent? Like, does that make sense?
Yeah.
I kind of feel like
a government is the sum of its parts. It's true that there's no force on Earth that could withstand the United States military. So that remains the case. But yeah, I don't think it would ever come to that, frankly. Or at least if handled well, I don't think it would come to that. I need to head and finish up donations before I have an appointment. Are there any final memes that you want to hit on?
No, of course, I'll say trans rights. I'm very socially progressive. I don't really like, yeah, I mean, I guess whatever other memes. Thank you for the good talk. I'd like to say I'm hopefully good faith. I don't want to come off as like too like ideology or
you
whatever.
You are called good faith and cap. So, I mean.
Exactly. I call myself that for a reason, right? I'm pretty sure the chat's memeing me. It's okay. I'm pretty new to politics and stuff. I saw ANCAP ideology. I thought it was like pretty cool, and I wanted to learn more about it. I thought it was really nice, but I don't know. I'm kind of really cognitively dissonant. I'm leading. I don't know where I lean right now. I'm just trying to figure stuff out. But yeah, thank you very much.
Of course, and I'm glad that we have a shared appreciation for freedom. Be well.
Of course. Be well.
Okay, that was a nice kid. Can I say kid? That was kid, right? Yeah, nice kid. I think that conversation went well. Silly convo, good faith. Yeah, well, I'm just really happy. I'm just really happy that I learned to have more modes than just like performatively angry, dude. That really helps me out, That's not a conversation I want to yell my way through. Oh fuck. We have I have the appointment coming up. Okay, hold on. I'm gonna read through these donuts quickly. Love you guys. Okay. Cinema Pats, Kiliyoshi, thank you very much for the $5. How do I get in the Discord? It's like vosh.gg/discord, I think. Nathaniel is gay, thanks to the tier 1 sub, trans rights. Piotr Online with the incredibly kind $20. Thank you very, very much. 10 Republicans vote for impeachment and morons pretend it's a sign of good faith. Wish I could talk while eating paint chips. You can, as long as you don't put too many in your mouth, comrade. Keep it open. Fuck ass and Violet Fid with the tier 1 subs. Really appreciate those both, comrade. COE with a very kind $10. I would love to talk to Bo of the Fifth Column, but I think for optics reason he avoids me, which is fine. Brady Myers, Percussion, and Telltale, thank you very much for the incredibly kind $5. I really appreciate that. Do you think the left does the our enemies are simultaneously strong and weak thing, like thinking the Coors are simultaneously a huge threat and bumbling? The critical distinction here is that the left will say individual members of the right are weak, whereas the movement is strong, whereas people on the right will say that the enemy movement is both strong and weak. So I'll often make fun of individual fascists for being weak, pathetic, emasculated baby dipshit virgins, which I stand by. But the movement of fascism is very powerful, in large part because of those traits of the individual. That's the point of a fascist, or like a fasces, right? The sticks harder to break when there's a lot of them. Whereas people on the right will like oscillate between America is unstoppable, we're the greatest power in the world, Western civilization is the best, and like we're undefeatable, the rest of the world quivers in the face of our might, and the Western world is literally on the brink of destruction thanks to the existence of black people having sex with white women. Holy shit. Like, they oscillate between those two. It's about, like, the civilizational threat that's posed, So I don't think lefties do that. I mean, maybe some do, but I don't think it's something we do very often. Maddie Shan, thank you very much for the incredibly kind $10. My friend thinks Democrats not condoning BLM, not condemning BLM is the same as Trump in the attempted coup. Is he right? Of course he's not. Yeah, no, he is not right. Cringe. Not Pork with very kind tier 4 sub. Thank you so much, comrade. I really appreciate that. Cryptoplasm with $3. Can you do a naked yoga react video? Technically, I could go over a naked yoga video, couldn't I? Like pussy out and everything. I could. I mean, it's on YouTube. I'm on YouTube, but I don't think I will. I don't think I will. It's Isaac, not Isaac. Thank you very much for the tier 1 sub. Much appreciated. Wea Boo Woo with $5. Not telling you that, comrade. Nafiana with a very kind $10. Vosh, the Catholic Church in Ireland, was found to be responsible for the deaths of 9,000 children and abusing the mothers. Link? Holy shit. Okay, well, I'll look at that, but probably not right now. Rex Soul, Dango Bangle, and Ashley Beetle, thank you very much for the incredibly kind $5. I really appreciate that. Yeah. Just checking, thanks for the $5. I think, oh yeah, Pete Buttigieg also had some weird mandatory military service thing. That was also pretty weird. Ashley Beetle, thank you for the very kind $5. There are key details you're missing of the Pete police chief thing. I can look into it in the future, but right now Pete's pretty irrelevant, so it'll have to be saved, I think. Cable Guy 707 with $5. Thank you very, very much. Maybe. Lacey Sneaky Wikiki with the 2 gifted tier 1 subs. Thank you, comrade. Yes, the new Silk Road project is unquestionably a form of economic imperialism. Wounded Walrus and Blades, thanks to the tier 1 subs. Comrade, fuck you, people linked so much shit. Holy fuck. My name is Lily. Thank you for the $5 and the Spotify. I'll take a look at that, comrade, to get some punk recommendations. Are Weebs imperialist? Yes, Post Baloney. Streaks, the very kind $5. I'll take a look at that. Thank you very, very much. Cool Roblox Guy 666, the $5. Is the micronation of Sealand imperialist? No, they escape my wrath. Santi99 with the very kind $10. This is a chill stream, so here's a baby. 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 Look at this oh. I sent you a picture of my fluff. Please respond. Oh, baby. What a beautiful baby. So cute. Very fluffy. Is Electro Swing imperialist? No. I did think it was funny people were saying Electro Swing was racist, though. I bet these people think that all forms of media and art which iterate on like culture produced by people of color is probably racist, though, right? I guess they'd say, like, if you like rock and roll, that's racist, because rock and roll was like usually, like, it was kind of like white people like derivating jazz. Yeah. Ruru Guru, maybe a Warhammer stream one day, comrade. Crispy Lab with a 274. My philosophy lecturer told me Zizek isn't taken seriously in academic circles. Any idea why? If I had to guess, it would probably be because he's more of a pop philosopher, right? That'd be my guess. Maybe Justin O'Neill. Thank you. Hey, comment with a very kind $10. My boyfriend said that trans is a disease that needs to be fixed, and it sickens me. Is there anything I can say to change his mind? Love you. You're gonna have to watch some of my old content on trans issues, comrade. That sucks. Jesus. But generally speaking, aversion to trans people and trans ideology is usually rooted in some kind of root fear or disgust. So you might want to find out what that root fear or disgust is. John Garrison, thank you for the $5. Is it worth getting streamers to fundraise money for this unionization effort? I'll take a look at it, comrade, but I can't really say. There are plenty of places where money could be well spent. Stoic Cynic, thank you very kind for the very kind $10, much appreciated. Jaden X, okay, I'll take a look at it, comrade. Spow, thank you for the $5. Fuck you. Iskin Sword with the very kind $5. Thank you very much. Feed Me likewise, much appreciated. Markinator with the very kind $5. Possibly. Pessimist with the incredibly kind $10. True. Jimmy Dore is indeed a dumb fuck soy face. That is true, comrade. Radix, the very kind tier 2 sub. Thank you. Cringe Leaks, the $5. Thoughts on companies exploiting nostalgia? I mean, it's the way to make money. That's their job, right? Sweet Victory with the $3. Skittle Kit with the 666. And Cock Whisperer with the $5. Thank you very, very much. Quetzalcoatl with the tier 2 sub. Thank you, comrade. Good luck on the LSAT. Hope you do better in Destiny. Insing's Bridge, Little Crow, Jonesty, and Pie all the time. Thanks to the tier 1 subs. I really appreciate those, comrade. Simpru Guy with the incredibly kind $10. Thank you. What's your take on the death penalty? Pretty cringe. Probably shouldn't do it. Even if there are people who can't be rehabilitated, which you never know if that's the case, the death penalty, you're just like closing off an avenue for people to reform in the future. It just doesn't seem worth it. I don't know. Why bother? Also, the way death penalties currently work, it's more expensive than just keeping them alive for the rest of their fucking lives. Landon Hager, Peyton Lucas, thank you both very much for the incredibly kind $5. Happy Bo with the $10. Thank you very kindly. Capitalism is when you own an herb garden. Haha, yes. True. Boy Meets Money with a gift of tier 1 sub. That is an incredibly broad question, comrade. I'm not the person to ask when it comes to policy surrounding worker co-ops. There are organizations that do that way better than me. Delicious. Zanya with the incredibly kind $20. Yes, you should always get your pets insured if you can when they're young. Thank you very much, comrade. And don't apologize for not donating. Take care of what you need to take care of, comrade. Thank you. Jakey Fakey, I'm familiar with Alice in Chains. Thank you, comrade. Much appreciated. David Torre with the $11. I can't go in the majority report because they also stream on Twitch, but I'd be happy to. I like their show. Nintendo and Depressed Scottish Dogs, thank you for the very kind $5. play Hollow Knight. I played all of Hollow Knight on stream. Not only did I play all of Hollow Knight, I even beat the fucking Hollow Nest Pantheon. I beat the hardest content in the game on stream. So you're going to have to look back through the VODs and find that in 4K. Tone the Tap and Fret, thank you for the $3. Ryan Anderson with the £3. And David Henry with the 2 Canadian, thank you very, very much. Relevant Millennial with the incredibly kind tier 4 sub, thank you very, very much, comrade. I really appreciate that. Figan McCarthy with the €5 and Sulfur99 with the $5. Thank you very much. Have a good sleep, Sulfur99. And yeah, I got you, Figan. The anime market is pretty fucked. Dude, I can't, honestly, I know a lot of people complain about it. I wish, like, all media was available on streaming services. I don't give a fuck, dude. If it means I can access basically all produced media, past and current, I will happily dump, like, a combined $100 on a fuck ton of different streaming and all that sort. If all my media could be accommodated for with that, I would do it personally. Especially since you can choose so much shit, you know? Like, fucking, like, dude, the Viz app on my phone is $2 a month. $2 a month, and I can follow, like, read not only a bunch of old manga, but, like, keep up to date with current manga. $2 a month. The fuck is that? Like, that's pretty darn good, you know? I don't even know how they make money off that. Bastov with a very kind tier 2 sub. Thank you very, very much. Your family has went off the deep end since Trump took office? You mean like off to the right? I have a video on pulling people out of the alt-right you might want to watch, but apart from that, I don't really know, comrade. That's a very specific question. Damn it, Joel, with the incredibly kind $10. Thanks for the tip. And no, I'm not always performatively mean. I'm only mean to people when they deserve it. Go back through my VODs. You can see when I'm mean to people, it's usually because they've done something in that conversation to warrant it. Have you seen this tweet from Asif? Oh no, that's never a good. New Before Life from 2014. Okay, well, that is true. Somniostatic with the incredibly kind $25. Can you read this dono 10 times so you're late to your appointment? Thanks. I'll consider it, comrade. Thanks. I'll read it after stream. I promise. I'll stick here. Yeah, Demon Mama. It's pretty fucking yikesy. David Mate, thank you for the very kind tier 2 sub. Yeah, this shirt's pretty nice from Baby Sama. Tyler Cross, thanks for the $5. Can't promise a conversation, comrade, but I do appreciate it. Hilburn, the $5. Thank you very much. Riverkill the Doctor, thank you for the $2. Would the drug cartels have to be democratized? Better they be democratized than not. Bronx Bjorn, the very kind $10. Doesn't it disgust you to think that if Dump won, he wouldn't be executing all these people? Yep. The only reason he's pushing through all these fucking federal executions is because it's some last-second clout. That's what clout is to a Republican. Imundele, Red Helene, and Fake Name, thank you very much for the $5. I really appreciate that. I will not write your criminological essay on stream, comrade. And I have not seen Ruby. Valhrafnaz with a tier 2 sub. Thank you, comrade. I do hope we hit 500k this year. We only just begun. We're at 320k, so I'm feeling good about it. Jessica Hyde with a very kind $10. Thank you. I have not seen that, but I'm glad that teacher got sacked for making that claim. Chess with the incredibly kind $5. Berserk anime opening. Nice try, comrade. Not getting fucking copyright striked. Glow 170. The only good music is 1700 sea shanties. Are you doing the Elon Musk meme? The one and only Gar with the incredibly kind $30. Thank you so much, comrade. What the fuck? Araxia with the tier 3 sub. The only white I'm okay being on me is what happens after I've had too many tequila shots at a Friday night keg fee. True. Is it when you vomit or because you spill the? I don't know. I don't get it. I love you. Thank you very much, comrade. Richard Testa Flit. Did you like Berserk on Netflix? I loved it. Which Berserk? The only Berserk media animation that I've seen is the 1997 show. Hot Dinner Plate with a very kind $10. Thank you very, very much. Customer stealing has a direct and harmful effect on the workers. Yeah, I didn't even talk about that. If you're shoplifting from a business, it's not the CEO that pays. It's usually the common workers. Feed Me with $5. Thank you very much. Possibly. Stoic Cynic with a very kind $2. Thank you. Nigel Monroe with $5. Thoughts on this take? Okay, I only have like a minute more. I have to. Oh no, this is 3 minutes. I'm sorry. It's gonna have to be condensed a little more in the future. I love you, buddy. Vestia with the 777. Thank you very much. My girlfriend painted your little Mike Goblin. Send her tons of love. We both love the babies. Baby. Mike Goblin, little scrote baby. I love her. She's like a fucking gecko. Bango Bangle, thank you for the very kind $5. True, I don't really care about Biden's mental state. The cabinet will be taking the shots anyway. Day is an account with a very kind $10. Thank you very, very much. Oh, true, I can take a look at that. Trans girl therapist with a very kind $10. Hey Vosh, baby pics, hero pics of my doggo Bunny. Also, not all viewers are Gen Z. I'm 40. That's true. I do have a lot of Zoomer viewers though. Wow, what a smooth dog. They're like a hot dog. Look at them. Like a smooth tube dog. What a beautiful baby. Soft baby. Skill Will with a very kind 1420. Thank you. I have seen AOC's breakdown of the January 6th attack. I have, yes. I'll probably go over it in a more dedicated stream. Element Nerd, thank you for the $5. So noted. I'll take a look. Dango Bangle, Trump definitely steals silverware from the White House. Fucking Haggis, the $5. I'll take a look at your music. Saint Chu with a very kind $5. Enjoy a painting of our glorious... Oh, shit! Our glorious leader. I'm so glad you people draw this disgusting animal. This is awesome. Thank you. So many wonderful people in my community. Pharaoh Milan, if your company treats you really well, it's probably still good to push for unionization, but it'll be harder because there's less to motivate your workers on. If you're treated really, really well by your company, a union may not necessarily be necessary to secure any additional rights, but rather to protect them from being removed in the future. You would form a union not like, hey, we want higher pay because maybe you're paid very, very, very well, but hey, we want to make sure that in the future, maybe with a different CEO, we don't get fucked down the line. Still possible. Jamie Daggers, the very kind $5. Trans rights, here are some pictures of my cat. Oh my God. So fluffy. Multiple cats. Looks like Artemy. Beautiful. I feel like you could drop this one in this one's belly fluff and it would get lost. Beautiful babies. Lucas Giesman with a very kind $10. I would do anything for you and Matt Christman to talk. You've called each other stupid and that couldn't be further from the truth. You're my two favorite lefties online despite disagreements. Dude, look, I talk a lot of shit and I believe the things that I say, but at the end of the day, I'm happy to have a civil conversation with anybody. I talked a lot of shit about Hakeem, but I had Hakeem on. We had a pretty fucking civil conversation. And I probably disagree with Hakeem on a lot more than I do with Matt Christman. If Matt Christman wants to come on and talk, I'm totally okay with that. I'll never decline. Especially since I do find the Chapel Boys funny. Like, it's not like I dislike their content. Foxy Muffin with the insanely kind $50 donation. Jesus Christ, thank you. Hey Vosh, love your stuff, even if I disagree with a few things, but you helped me come over from the right wing. Quick question, thoughts on egoism? I'm not really well read or versed on egoism, so I feel kind of uneducated bringing it up, but from what I've read, it seems agreeable enough. There are some nice memes there. Stirner maybe has some problems, but egoism as a concept, or like using descriptive egoism as like an ethical system, I've heard good arguments for these things. And I think that you can justify socialism through an ego, like an egoist perspective as well. I think, but I don't think, a lot of people think egoism means selfish. From what I understand, that's not the case. Like, egoism is, you can very easily justify a socialist society through egoism. It's totally possible. Yeah. Like for me personally, I do think that people are fundamentally selfish, but not in the way people think they are. If a person is very like loving and charitable and kind-hearted and giving to others, they probably do that because it suits their personal agenda and it makes them feel good to do so, you know? Very rarely are people selfless at great personal suffering because they don't want to do it. Usually people do selfless things because they want to do it. Fulfilling things that you want to do seems to be like all you do. In fact, depending on how you define want, almost every action is consensual. Even coercive stuff like the capitalist economy, I mean, you don't want to go to work, but you may want to go to work more than you want to starve. The goal then is to incentivize good wants. I think that's very, very important. This sounds like Ayn Rand stuff. No. Ayn Rand is about the idea that the individuals need to spread their wings at the behest of society and that we all need to step out of the way so that Ubermensch capitalists can do everything they want with nobody stopping them because they're the one holding the world up, okay? That's not the case. But here's another idea. If your goal is to maximize your own personal well-being above everything else, wouldn't it be in your best interest to secure a socialist society? The vast majority of people, especially if you include your kids and the rest of your family and your friends, the vast majority of people would benefit more from that society than they would a society that that we live in today. Like, this is material conditions, right? People are motivated by the material conditions, so naturally it would follow that you would try to motivate people to believe in and benefit from systems which are best for society. Of course, you can egotistically justify a lot of bad things, but people who are egotistically justified into doing bad things probably aren't going to be persuaded by non-egotistical arguments to not do those bad things, you know? If a person thinks that it's okay for them to be a ruthless fucking businessman because it benefits them and they don't give a fuck about who they hurt, you're probably not going to convince them otherwise with some broader ethical argument about doing well-being to others, because they've already kind of rejected that premise from their behavior, you know? I don't think egoism means like you're selfish. I just mean it's just an ethical perspective, you know? But that's my thoughts, and I'm very uneducated and my brain is small. Sorry. Amber Sevgi, the very kind $25. Thank you very, very much. I really appreciate that, comrade. And Tara J with the 10 Australian. Good luck going to work. I love your work too, comrade, because you save people's lives, right? Thank you very much, comrades. I really appreciate it. Today was a chill stream. We don't even have any segments, I think, unless the conversation with the ANCAP is a segment, but maybe that will be a segment. I love you all very much. I will be streaming tomorrow, right? Yeah, I'll be streaming tomorrow. Oh, there's one other thing that I want to say, by the way. Hold up. Wait, really quickly before you go. There's one other thing that I want to bring up. Is this scheduled on his channel? Or is this being done by the Surfs? Tomorrow at 11 a.m., I think, PST. Radical Reviewer is doing a collaboration with Lance of the Surfs for a review of State and Revolution, which I think is actually a really, really formative piece of theory that people should read, even if they disagree with the stuff that Lenin did, because Lenin did a lot of really bad stuff. I'm not denying that. You know? And they're doing that, and a Radical Reviewer is pretty fucking based. Let me see. What's the time for this again? Hold on. Yeah. Premiere videos Fridays at 11 a.m. PST. Normally stream premiere your video at 10 a.m. Radical, premiere your video at 10 a.m. You fool. No, wait. Is it possible to host somebody while I'm doing the stream soon thing? Wait, I don't think it is. Fuck, I have to respond to this email. God damn it. I don't think the site can do both those things. No, I can do the host on YouTube. No, I can do the host on the site and the starting stream on YouTube. Okay, yeah, we can do that. Okay, I'll sort that out. All right, people, I love you all. Go watch Lance. Go watch the Surfs. Go, 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 go.